Chapter 433. To be honest, although he had seen the video before, watching it again with the person involved made Chen Guang feel quite awkward. He didn't expect Ling Qin to be so calm. She watched the video from beginning to end with her eyes wide open, as if the person suffering on the screen wasn't her, but a stranger she didn't know. While watching, she even pulled Chen Guang to explain. "Look, at this time, I was slapped hard by him. I was completely stunned at the time. My mind was dizzy, and my strength to resist was much weaker. It's really sad to talk about it. It was my first time being insulted by Wang Ren. I wanted to save my first time for my husband, but he got lucky." Ling Qin pointed to the bloody place on the screen. "Look at my place, it's swollen. I had to lie in bed for more than half a month before I recovered." From the beginning to the end, he did not have any unnecessary thoughts in his heart. He just listened to Ling Qin, from a completely bystander's point of view, using a tone that was so calm that it made people's hearts turn cold. Ling Qin explained everything that happened at that time bit by bit, describing her pain and helplessness, her despair and anger. From time to time, Chen Guang glanced at her face, which only had one eye left and was full of wounds. Then he looked at her in the video, who was in so much pain that it couldn't hide her beauty. He felt a chill run down his spine. There were a lot of scenes in the video that were too large. It was not inferior to Japanese films. It wasn't hard to imagine the huge impact this video would have on Ling Qin after it was released. Chen Guang's original intention was to censor her face and some parts that couldn't be described in detail, which could be considered a strong protection for Ling Qin. He didn't expect that she wouldn't agree. Are you really going to release it without censoring it?" Chen Guang looked at Ling Qin in bewilderment. Ling Qin looked extremely calm. "No, I won't censor it, I beg you. It's not that I'm shameless, but I have nothing now. What's the use of that little bit of face? If there's any use for this broken body of mine, it's probably to drag Wang Ren to hell with me. What's the point of making it so that people can't see my pain? So what if I can't see the damage I've suffered? I want everyone to see it. Only by dragging out the bloody truth can we make it irrefutable." As soon as she finished speaking, Ling Qin snatched the phone from Chen Guang's hand and pressed the send button. Then, she hid the phone in her hospital gown, not letting Chen Guang take it back. Sigh. In the end, Chen Guang couldn't get his phone back. When this video appeared on the internet, it happened to be a long night. Many people were bored and couldn't sleep at night. Many people clicked on the video crazily when they saw its cover. They thought it was welfare. This was indeed welfare, but it was a welfare that came with blood. Anything that carried the name of welfare would spread much faster on Weibo than normal news. Those who understood would naturally understand. At first, many people didn't understand why a super internet celebrity like Omnipotent Superman would post such a forbidden video. Some female fans even suspected that his account had been hacked. There were also people who slandered and cursed him below. Chen Guang posted a text on Weibo, explaining the ins and outs of the video clearly. He also clearly explained the relationship between Wang Ren, Su Lijing, and Xiang Guoming and the other two who were heavily involved in the previous video. In an instant, the limelight changed. It turned out that this so-called welfare was also a continuation of the previous incident. The name Wang Ren once again appeared in the eyes of the public, with the speed of a sudden clap of thunder and the power of a violent wind sweeping through the earth. It carried the filth and ugliness of man-eating. B*****. 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 A piece of trash like Wang Ren should be burned alive. I strongly demand that Wang Ren be arrested. Shoot him. If Wang Ren doesn't die, the heavens will not tolerate it. I always thought that Su Lijing was the source of all evil. Only today did I realize that it was this B***** who brought his father to this state. This father and son should be executed by 1,000 cuts. Similar angry cries appeared on Chen Guang's Weibo, as well as in countless reposts and news reports. What was even stranger was that, according to normal understanding, Chen Guang's excessive Weibo post should have been blocked a long time ago. However, the fact was that it had not been deleted and had been hanging under the account of Omnipotent Superman. Of course, this kind of thing would indeed have a significant impact on the physical and mental health of minors. About half an hour after it was uploaded, Chen Guang himself did not realize it. Considering many factors, the Weibo company did not inform Chen Guang and quietly did some technical processing of the video and re-uploaded it. Some areas that were not suitable for children were even censored. This was destined to be a sleepless night for many people. Early the next morning, Chen Guang, Deputy Director Han, Guoming, and Ling Qin stood together outside the procuratorate. Before entering the door, Chen Guang took out his phone and took a picture of the procuratorate. Hello to all the fans of Omnipotent Superman. Hello to all the friends who are concerned about this matter. I am a friend of Omnipotent Superman. Now we are going to enter the procuratorate and submit the materials. I hope everything goes well for us today. Then, can we send this scum to the guillotine? Let's wait and see. Listen to the next breakdown. When he finished the video, Ling Qin and the others were amused by him. Old man Han laughed and scolded, "Kid, are you telling a story?" Although Ling Qin did not laugh, her lifeless eyes lit up a little. She explained to Old Man Han, Deputy Director Han, what is Chen Guang called this? Beating the Tiger serialization. This kind of thing can be posted online. Old Man Han was shocked. Chen Guang only smiled and did not say anything. Look at me, isn't the serialization going well? That afternoon, several cases were integrated and handled together. The charges against Wang Ren and Su Lijing were officially launched. As Chen Guang updated the progress of the case on Weibo again and again, the first online serialization since the founding of China officially began. There were many special reasons why it had become like this. Without the Omnipotent Superman account that Chen Guang had personally created, there would not be an online public figure who could create an effect in the hearts of the people. Without Jiang Yage's pressure, Omnipotent Superman did not have as much freedom as he did at the beginning. Without Jin Shiyue's protection, there would be no compromise between Wu Shan and Chen Guang. Then, naturally, Chen Guang would not be able to post the matter on the internet at the same time. No one wanted their scandals to be brought to light. Su Lijing and Wang Ren's misfortune was indeed seen by many people who were observant, and it pained their hearts. They began to panic and worry if this was a sign that the higher-ups were opening up the public's opinions. At the same time, they were also worried that their not-so-glorious past would be exposed on the internet. Even a hard-working academic like Su Lijing could not keep his chastity in his old age, let alone people like them. 3 days later, Wang Ren's trial was the first to be held. Because the case fully fulfilled the following 3 conditions: high public attention, great social impact, and strong legal education significance. Therefore, the trial of this case was broadcasted live on all platforms. At the same time, it was also broadcasted live on Sichuan Province Satellite TV1. Under the gaze of millions of people, a public official was investigated and punished. This was the first time in history. Chen Guang presented all the evidence in court. With the help of Wu Shan, Ding Lu's family was also found and reprimanded Wang Ren in court. When the family saw Ding Lu's suicide note, heard the recording played in court, and looked at the semen spot identification report, Ding Lu's parents, who had been farmers for generations, cried so much that they fainted. Ling Qin dragged her broken body and stood on the high platform. She described how Wang Ren hurt her, how he threatened her, and how the thugs hired by Su Lijing massacred her family of 3. The sorrow in her words, the misery in her condition, and the misery of her fate made countless people in the court feel the same, and tears streamed down their faces. Then, the evidence of Wang Ren's bribery left behind by many sales companies, although it was no longer the main evidence of his crime, it still played a role of icing on the cake. In addition, many teachers and staff of the school also stood up and complained about how Wang Ren ran amok and how arrogant he was. As the saying goes, when a wall is down, everyone kicks it. After handing over all the evidence, Chen Guang sat at the back of the bench and quietly waited for the result. All the evidence that should be listed and stated had been stated. The defense of the defendant did not seem to be helping Wang Ren exonerate, but rather reminding the plaintiff to prove the evidence listed one by one. In fact, there was really nothing to argue about. The crime was established, the evidence was conclusive, and there were witnesses and material evidence. Now, it was just a symbolic discussion by the trial staff, waiting for the final result of the trial. Wang Ren stood on the bench with his head down. Until he was escorted here, he never thought that he would actually be tried in public. As usual, he looked at his uncle, or rather, his father, for help. However, Su Lijing was also shackled and imprisoned. This time, Su Lijing could no longer help him. After his own trial, in another closed court, this indomitable backer would also have to accept the trial against him. No. I don't want to die. I absolutely don't want to die. Wang Ren roared crazily in his heart. Like a crazy wild dog, he twisted his head, looking for a chance of survival in the crowd. He saw the hatred in Ling Qin's eyes, as if she wanted to grind his bones into ashes. He also saw the hatred in Ding Lu's family's eyes, as if they wanted to rush up and hack him to death. He also saw the colleagues who used to suck up to him, but now, their eyes were full of ridicule and ridicule. No one sympathized with him. Before the court pronounced the sentence, he had already been abandoned by the world. Everyone seemed to be laughing at him. Serves you right, you have this day. Finally, he noticed Chen Guang at the back of the bench. Chapter 434. Wang Ren did not care that this was a serious trial. He shouted, Chen Guang. Let me go. Let me go. I beg you. I beg you to let me go, okay? I swear I won't provoke you again. I was wrong. Of course, he knew that Chen Guang had single-handedly created this situation. Ever since the incident with Shuo Jingxi, Chen Guang had been viciously biting him. He tried to break free bit by bit, but it was futile. His skin and flesh were being torn off piece by piece. Now, he was going to be gnawed to the last bone. He was afraid, panicked, desperate, and sad. That was why he stood in the courtroom, in front of the live broadcast, and wagged his tail at Chen Guang, begging for mercy. He knew that as long as he could get Chen Guang's forgiveness, he could escape punishment as usual. However, Chen Guang did not care about him. In fact, Wang Ren thought too much of the situation. Although it was Chen Guang who pushed him to the stand, this was a public trial that was broadcasted live. If justice was hidden in the dark, there might still be room for manipulation. However, once these things were put on the table, justice under the sun was pure and undeniable. Today, it was not something that could be resolved by Chen Guang saying he would let it go. Of course, Chen Guang would not let him go. The presiding judge banged his gavel heavily. Defendant, please watch your emotions. Silence. Wang Ren shut his mouth, but Chen Guang still inevitably became the focus of everyone's attention. This person was Chen Guang. Many people who knew the situation could not help but look at Chen Guang. They knew that it was this young man who had pushed Wang Ren and Su Lijing to the stand. They had thought that he was a middle-aged man. They did not expect him to be such a young and immature man. Chen Guang did not want to be so conspicuous, but he was called out by Wang Ren in front of everyone. Even the live broadcast camera was pointed at him. Do I really have to stand up and say something? Forget it, I'm not wearing a mask now, it's better to keep a low profile. He wanted to keep a low profile, but he didn't expect that there were countless people sitting in front of their TVs or computers looking at him. He couldn't keep a low profile. In a small building in Beijing's First Ring Road, a few old people were sitting together in front of the TV, watching the public trial. At their level of status, they rarely paid attention to news of this level. Not to mention Su Lixing's son Wang Ren undergoing a public trial, even Su Lixing's own trial was beneath their notice. At most, there would only be a brief report written on a piece of paper. 3. Su Lixing, Vice President of Okawa Province Gokyo University and a core member of the central think tank, is suspected of. Punished, that was all. There was another reason why these elders had gathered here to watch this public trial, which was not even worth mentioning to them. Old Jean, the young man with the surname Chin that Shiryu mentioned on Weibo, is most likely him, right? It's him. Why haven't I seen him before? Is he one of the children with the surname Chin? No, but he saved Shiryu's life. Maybe that's when the two of them crossed paths. The young man looks quite spirited, but he's a little too impulsive. Shiryu also lacks consideration. Aren't you going to teach her a lesson? What's the point of saying all this to me now? Shiryu has already washed her hands of her responsibilities, so all I can do is watch. Old Jean rubbed his brows. He looked like he was having a headache, but there was nothing he could do. Ha ha ha, you old man, you're always bragging about how well you've taught your son. Shiryu is so educated and reasonable, but she keeps saying that my age is a joker and not a proper person. Ha ha ha, you didn't expect it, did you? Your Shiryu is amazing with a single brilliant feat. Look at my age. Although she's usually more active than anyone else and gives me a headache, she wouldn't dare to not discuss such an important matter with me. I don't know what you think, but I can't stand it. I can't stand it. The elderly man with the surname Jiang patted his big bald head and laughed in a coarse voice. Old Jin's face alternated between red and white, and he slammed the table. That's enough, you old dog. I, old Jean, am not like your family. My children and grandchildren have their own happiness. If she really likes it, I won't stop her. Not only will I not stop her, I still support her. The old chairman has already said it. Freedom of marriage. Freedom of love. Freedom of thought. Freedom of the people. You only know how to play with a gun, what do you know? The two old men started fighting in the small courtyard. Several old men beside them laughed and laughed, as if trying to mediate the fight, but also as if they were shouting. They were having a great time. In contrast to this small courtyard, many officials from all over the country were watching this scene with different feelings in their hearts. Those who could understand Jean Shiryu's Weibo post were, after all, only a few people. But those who had a certain amount of information channels all heard the news from Sichuan province. The driving force behind the entire matter was a young man named Chen Guang. The news might have been leaked by Secretary Ma, or it might have been leaked by the Jiangyuan district branch. This matter could no longer be investigated, and there was no need to pay attention to it. Chen Guang's expressionless face at this moment was particularly frightening in the eyes of too many observant people. It was this reckless young man who had pulled Su Lixing down from his high horse. Insensible, unreasonable, not willing to negotiate, and willing to be cut to pieces to pull the emperor down from his high horse, this was how these people viewed Chen Guang. He had a close relationship with the mysterious and omnipotent superhuman who had recently reached the peak of popularity on the internet. He also had an amazing background, and even the Weibo company and the public opinion management department had to indulge in his exploitative news. This guy was a hothead with an excessive sense of justice and astonishing energy. This was especially frightening. For the sake of the hat on his head and the chair under his buttocks, he must remember this face and not bump into his eyes. If he could get rid of a Su Lijing, he could also get rid of more Su Lijing. In a situation that even Chen Guang himself did not expect, he had unknowingly become the sword of Damocles hanging above many people's heads. Wu Shan, who was sitting beside Chen Guang, had an indifferent smile on his face. On the TV screen, Chen Guang was in the center, and Wu Shan was also beside him. Others naturally understood what should be understood. This matter seemed to be Chen Guang jumping on the surface, but insiders knew that this was all led by Wu Shan. But Wu Shan had taken all the benefits, and Chen Guang had to bear the infamy, and he was a little embarrassed. Wu Shan pulled Chen Guang's sleeve and whispered, "After today, you won't be able to keep a low profile anymore. You don't know how many people will love and hate you." At first, Chen Guang did not understand what Wu Shan meant. "Since the founding of the People's Republic, you are the first to sue an official of Su Lijing's level. Actually, I had told you not to attend the trial, but you insisted on coming." Chen Guang understood. "To be honest, I am a little regretful. But forget it. If I become famous, then so be it. I admit it. If I don't come to watch him, I'm afraid Wang Ren won't die. So what if others love and hate me? Those who love me are good people, and those who are afraid of me are people like Su Lijing. It's good that they are afraid of me, but I'm afraid that they are not afraid of anything." His words were a bit awkward, but Wu Shan understood it clearly. "Fortunately, I'm upright. Otherwise, you wouldn't hit me next, would you?" Chen Guang shook his head like a rattle drum. "I have 2 points to say. First, Uncle Wu, you are actually not particularly upright. Second, I can hit anyone but you. We are on the same side, but when we are on the same side, we are on the same side, but not the other way around. Aren't you all the same to me? If it was someone else, would they be able to walk away from Phoenix Spring Mountain so easily? That's true, this is against the rules. Later, you and I will go back to the hall to record a statement. Does the hall care about this kind of thing? I don't care, I'm teaching you a lesson for not respecting your elders." Chen Guang quickly apologized. "I was wrong. I was wrong. At least you know what's good for you," Wu Shan said cheerfully. The two of them chatted for a while. Seeing that the discussion of the trial team was getting more and more intense, Chen Guang asked, "Uncle Wu, what do you think these people are talking about? Can't they just give him the death penalty?" Wu Shan's face stiffened. "Actually, according to the law, Wang Ren's crime is not enough, then I will do it myself. He must die," Chen Guang said in a low voice. Wu Shan's pupils shrank. This guy still wants to kill people. The autopsy reports of the 6 people who died a few days ago had been on his desk for a few days. Wu Shan had read them over and over again no less than 5 times, but he still found it hard to believe every time. 5 of them had their throats pierced by a dart. Although it was strange, it was still reasonable. However, the way the burly man from Meng province died was especially unbelievable. There were no obvious injuries on his body, only a fist mark was left on his left chest where his heart was. Then, his ribs were shattered, and his heart ruptured. The forensic experts speculated that in order for the fist force to penetrate through the thick chest muscles and then shatter the heart, the punch that Chen Guang threw at the burly man must have had a force of nearly 800 kilograms. What kind of concept was that? The average adult man who weighed 60 kilograms could punch about 150 kilograms. Professionally trained athletes could punch up to 250 kilograms. Tyson, who was widely recognized as the heavyweight punch of the century, obtained a result of 500 to 800 kilograms on the punching machine. However, Tyson's data fluctuated and was not stable. The peak value of 800 kilograms was the result of the kinetic energy he accumulated during the continuous punching process. It was by chance that the kinetic energy was perfectly converted into mechanical energy in the shortest time possible. When he swung his fist to the limit, the muscles in his arms and body reached perfect harmony, which allowed him to punch with such terrifying force. However, Chen Guang, who didn't look sturdy, was actually able to throw 800 kilograms with a single punch. Considering that his fist was smaller than boxing champion Tyson's, the surface area of his fist was much smaller. It could even be said that the power of his punch was far greater than Tyson's punch. Thinking about this, Wushan felt a chill run down his spine. He did not understand how Chen Guang did it with his body. Shuai Lin kept telling me that you don't know internal force. Tell Uncle Wu the truth, do you know it or not? Wu Shan did not want to talk about Wang Rin anymore, so he changed the topic. Chen Guang shook his head. I really don't know internal force. I want to learn, but they won't teach me. Then how do you explain your punch? Which punch? The burly man you killed first. Don't try to deny it. The test report is on my desk. We speculated that your fist force was at least 800 kilograms. I don't understand your body. Chapter 435. Chen Guang chuckled. Of course the director didn't understand. Don't think that I'm skinny compared to those heavyweight boxers. Most of my strength lies in my Qilin arms. Do you know how much I've suffered to train my Qilin arms? I even played with brass fireworks and bought a book called Starting from Zero. My Qilin arms, every cell, every inch of muscle fiber exudes a strong sense of superiority when compared to you mortals. Billions of high-frequency vibrations cause the muscle structure of my Qilin arm to be continuously optimized. My cells were constantly evolving under the effects of metabolism. Even though it seemed like a casual punch, the technique of exerting force, starting from the burning of adenosine triphosphate, then the release of energy to every inch of muscle fiber, and finally the technique of exerting force when swinging my body and punching out. I'm not on the same level as you mortals, alright. Strictly speaking, the Qilin arms increases strength by 50%, but that refers to the pure strength of lifting weights, not the explosive power of punching. Explosive power and fixed strength are different concepts. The increase ratio is far more than 50%. Before the increase, Chen Guang's fist strength was already close to that of a professional boxer. It was close to 300 kilograms. After the 50% increase in fixed strength, his hand exceeded the limit of a human being, and the force of a violent punch reached 800 kilograms. The explosive power of a punch was not just a simple arm wrestling. It involved many techniques to exert force, as well as the explosive memory formed from long-term training of the muscle structure. Ordinary boxers trained for a few years and were close to the professional level. Their punches would have explosive growth from 160 to 300 kilograms. As for how long Chen Guang had been training in the Qilin arm realm, that was something that he couldn't be bothered to calculate. But when he did, he was shocked. It was a total of 35,000 days, a total of 95 years. How could the muscle memory formed in 95 years not be strong? Uncle Wu, do you see my bouncing biceps? I'm not bragging, but my fists are naturally strong. You know that the internet celebrity omnipotent Superman is actually me, right? I plan to change my name in a few days. Wu Shan saw that he did not want to tell the truth, and there was nothing he could do. Change your name to what? One Punch Superman. What kind of joke is that? Can you be more honest? How did you train? If possible, I would like to incorporate your training methods into the police force. It's fine if you don't understand. There's nothing I can't say. 3 years ago, I was also a weakling. But after I entered university, I persisted in training every day. I trained in the summer and in the winter. I ran 10 kilometers every day, did 300 push-ups, and did 600 sit-ups. Shut up, the presiding judge is about to pronounce the sentence. Wu Shan thought to himself, no, I must get Wu Tong to stay away from this brat when I get back. He's always running his mouth. At that moment, the presiding judge banged his gavel again and was ready to announce the results of the discussion. This court believes that the defendant, Wang Ren, is suspected of rape, drugging, causing death to another person, dereliction of duty, corruption, bribery, abuse of power, and other criminal acts, which have violated the criminal law and constituted rape and manslaughter, and should be punished in accordance with the law. As he listened to the presiding judge announce Wang Ren's crimes one by one, a smile gradually appeared on Chen Guang's face. He then looked at the cameras in the courtroom, and he knew that everything that happened here was being watched by countless people on the internet and in front of their TVs. He had waited for this day. It wasn't a masterful plan, nor was it an exquisite setup. To be able to rely on his own strength to push this matter to this point, Chen Guang had relied entirely on his pride, his unyielding determination to uphold justice. Perhaps he had relied on the help of many nobles, and the light at the end of the tunnel was mostly due to Su Lijing's stupid move. But if it wasn't for Chen Guang, who could have done it? The defendant, Wang Ren, is sentenced to life imprisonment, effective immediately. The presiding judge finally announced the result of the trial. Chen Guang's pupils shrank. What? It's not the death penalty. Why not the death penalty? Why not the death penalty? Chen Guang asked Wu Shan with a gloomy face. Wu Shan pondered for a moment. In my experience, although Wang Ren deserved to die, from a legal point of view, he shouldn't be sentenced to death. I don't agree. Chen Guang roared in his heart. On the other side, when Wang Ren heard the sentence of life imprisonment, he actually smiled. As long as he didn't die, everything was negotiable. A ferocious smile gradually appeared on his face. When he looked at Chen Guang, Ling Qin, and the others again, he already had a hint of pride. Bang! Chen Guang slammed the table and stood up. The presiding judge, who was about to announce the adjournment of the trial, was stunned at first, but immediately said, Mr. Chen, please respect the court. This court has already announced the verdict. If the prosecution has any doubts, they have the right to appeal, but for now, please respect this court's verdict. Ling Qin, who had been gritting her teeth and standing in the courtroom, could not hide the disappointment in her eyes. She wanted Wang Ren to be sentenced to death more than anyone else. The people in front of the TV and computers were also in an uproar. Isn't this Wang Ren sentenced to death? How can he not be sentenced to death? Isn't he already unforgivable? Dad, you don't understand. From a legal point of view, Wang Ren really can't be sentenced to death. A girl who majored in law said to her father, from a sentimental point of view, I also hope it's the death penalty, but, in the small building in Yanjing. This kid really doesn't know any better. The public trial has already been broadcasted live on TV. He should stop messing around, the old man sitting in the middle said with a frown. The old man's surname Jean said, in my opinion, this sentence is too light. Old Jean, weren't you the first to sign the Constitution and criminal law when they were finalized? If your grandson-in-law isn't convinced, you can slap yourself in the face. The old man's surname Jiang teased. The two old men started fighting again. Stop it, you two. This young man actually rushed in front of Wang Ren. Hurry up and tell them to shut down the live broadcast. The old man sitting in the middle shouted. The old men turned their heads and saw that Chen Guang had already run in front of Wang Ren, who was about to be taken away, very agitated. Wait! Chen Guang gritted his teeth and stared at Wang Ren. I have something to say. Since he was not sentenced to death, Wang Ren was not afraid anymore. He was not in a hurry. So what if it was a life sentence? He could still live comfortably in prison. Chen Guang, are you done? I'm already going to prison. What else do you want? Wang Ren's hands were cuffed, so he shrugged and tilted his head as he spoke. There was no regret or shame on his face. The pride and satisfaction hidden in his eyes could not be more obvious. Seeing that Chen Guang was silent, Wang Ren said again, "Yes, I did make many mistakes in the past. I accept going to prison. What else do you want?" "Everyone, don't worry. I will be reformed in prison." "What else do you want, Chen Guang? You're good at fighting. Come on, come and beat me to death. Aren't you the messenger of justice? Come and beat me to death." Wang Ren continued to clamor. In front of the TV, in front of the computer, and in the courtroom, countless spectators and reporters looked at Wang Ren in a daze. What kind of heart did this guy have? Even such a person couldn't be sentenced to death. Jiang Yage threw the TV remote control in her hand. This Wang guy is too much. That Ding Lu is so pitiful. Why isn't she sentenced to death? This isn't fair. Jean Shuyue was also a little angry, but she said, although Wang Ren can't shirk the responsibility for Ding Lu's death, she committed suicide after all. Isn't there still the matter of Ling Qin? Jiang Yage said again. Jean Shuyue thought for a moment. There are very few precedents of a death sentence for rape. I know you want to talk about the boy from before, but look at the boy's family, they didn't come to this trial. Even if they came, it would still be the same. At that time, Wang Ren led a group of people to beat the boy, but the real culprit was someone else. In addition, the victim's family took the initiative to forgive, so it's hard to say. So we can only watch this guy get away with it. Jiang Yage muttered in dissatisfaction. Look at how angry our Chen Guang is. He's sentenced to life imprisonment. Is that good enough? Jiang Yage curled her lips in disdain. Others may not understand, but we do. He's probably on vacation. Looking at this arrogant guy, Chen Guang's breathing became heavier, and the redness in his eyes became more obvious. Wu Shan grabbed him from behind. Chen Guang, don't be rash. Uncle Wu, don't stop me. Chen Guang's eyes were bloodshot as he struggled to break free from Wu Shan's grip. Oh no. He's out of control. The expressions of the people in the courtroom changed. The live broadcast was still ongoing. If this kid killed someone in court, the consequences would be unthinkable. Even Wu Shan was startled. If Chen Guang were to kill someone before the eyes of the entire country, it would be disastrous. Jin Jiang and the other two were also scared out of their wits. Shuo Jingxi and the others were not any better. In a forest somewhere, Wen, who was sitting in front of the television with her legs crossed, also jumped up in shock. She shouted, "Help!" She was already thinking that if Chen Guang really killed someone in front of the world, she was the only one who could protect him. At that moment, Chen Guang had already rushed in front of Wang Ren. He raised his right hand high and clenched his fist. Wu Shan could not catch up. His face was full of despair. He knew that if Chen Guang's fist landed, Wang Ren's head would explode. Wang Ren's expression did not change. He only looked at Chen Guang with his neck straight. Come on. Come and beat me to death. He did not believe that Chen Guang would dare to kill him in front of everyone. I'm going to kill you. He roared and swung his fist. Endless anger surged from Chen Guang's heart. It rushed straight to his brain and burned away his rationality. All of a sudden, thin crimson threads grew out of the depths of his mind like vines. They broke through his mind and poured into the heavenly Holy Grail in the sports bag he was carrying on his back. The heavenly Holy Grail suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. The light was so red that it was terrifying. In turn, it enveloped Xinguang's body. Flames that could not be seen by the naked eye rose from his body and soared into the sky. Thunder rumbled in the sky. Chapter 436. In the boundless void, a huge crack that stretched for an unknown number of light years suddenly appeared. A dazzling white light abruptly emerged from the crack and rushed to somewhere tens of billions of light years away. This faint light crossed the endless vacuum space and the distance of tens of billions of light years. At a speed that was trillions of times faster than light, it suddenly rushed to the earth and penetrated the heavenly Holy Grail. Time, at this moment, stood still. Xinguang's eyes widened. He used all his strength, but he could no longer push his fist forward. What's going on? I can't move. Xinguang stared at Wang Ren in front of him. Countless confused thoughts flashed through his mind. Wang Ren's mouth was wide open, and his eyes were slightly closed. He was looking up at Xinguang's iron fist above his head. Everything on this scumbag's face was incomparably clear. Xinguang felt that his line of sight kept moving forward on this completely still face. It was like a TV microcamera, constantly zooming in and out. Moving forward from his big pancake face, the acne spots on his face grew larger and larger. Then, it was his pores. The pores continued to enlarge, and the pores were filled with mites. The mites continued to enlarge, and the extremely fine hair on the mite's legs continued to enlarge. Xinguang shook his head. He was extremely confused. What was going on? Crack, crack, as if he had broken free from something. He could finally move, but in the huge courtroom, everyone and everything else was still in a completely still state. Xinguang looked around, but his line of sight continued to enlarge uncontrollably. He could see the dust in the air. He stared at a random speck of dust, and then the speck of dust grew larger and larger in his eyes. It turned into a huge rock, and then into a planet floating in the universe. Xinguang's line of sight fell on the surface of the planet again. He was still moving forward. He saw the mottled spots and cracks on the surface of the planet. As his line of sight went deeper, these cracks turned into a huge, crisscrossing ravine that stretched as far as the eye could see. When his line of sight was about to clearly see the atomic structure of silicon dioxide, he finally shook his head violently again and broke away from this unimaginable state. Is there something wrong with me? Or was there something wrong with the world? Suddenly, Xinguang felt a warm current flowing behind his back. He turned around and saw that the Supreme Heaven Grail, which was originally the size of an ordinary cup, had grown to a size of 10 feet and was floating in the air behind him. Two strange lights, red and white, were flickering on and off the surface of the Grail. He immediately understood. It was the mutation of the Holy Grail. But why would it suddenly change at this time? Lioli, where did you go? Why didn't you tell me in advance? You didn't even greet me when you let me enter the cup realm, and now you're causing such a huge commotion and you still don't greet me. Can't you be more reasonable? Can't you at least let me know what's going on? What happened to my body? Xinguang looked at the scarlet flames that surrounded his body. When the red and white lights of the Holy Grail finally fused together, something strange happened again. This was a familiar feeling. Every time he was sucked into the next level in the Cloud Sea Cup, it was like this. But unlike in the past, this was the first time his entire body was sucked in. Lioli. What's going on? Where is this? An instant later, Xinguang regained consciousness and looked around. No, he felt that he didn't have any eyes. He tried to raise his hand, but found that there was nothing there. My hand is gone too. I don't have a body. What is this place? What happened to my body? Why hasn't Lioli come out yet? This was a dark and gloomy starry sky. The sky was filled with stars in all directions, and every star seemed to be within reach. However, if one looked closely, they would feel as if the stars were far away on the horizon. This space was filled with endless loneliness and emptiness. Lioli. Where is I? Where's my body? Chen Guang roared in his heart again, but there was still no movement. Suddenly, he felt an intense tearing pain. He clearly didn't have a body, and he was in a void, but Chen Guang could still feel this terrible pain, as if his body was being torn apart. He wanted to scream, but he couldn't. In a place that he couldn't see or touch, his body had been torn open. Then, he had an illusion that a ray of white light had inexplicably rushed out from the crack in his body, which might have been his consciousness. This white light seemed so weak when it was born, but the inexplicable suction force from it was so strong. Chen Guang's consciousness was fiercely pulled over, as if it had been sucked into the white light. Then, the ray of light began to rush forward at a rapid speed. At this moment, Chen Guang was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? He had inexplicably appeared in this starry sky that he had never seen before. He had also inexplicably lost his body, and was even inexplicably torn into two halves. A slit opened up on his non-existent stomach, and a ray of light burst out from his stomach. His entire body was sucked into the light, and like a fly tied to a dart, he rushed forward. Well, at least he saw something familiar. When he saw the distorted light in the familiar space-time tunnel, he was almost moved to tears. I used to be indifferent to this broken tunnel, but now I love it deeply. Then the question is, where am I going now? The next world in a cup. But I have never seen this kind of opening. Could it be that there is a world in a cup of darkness that I have never seen? F***ck. When he thought of the setting of the world in a cup of darkness, he panicked. Finally, he reached the end of the space-time tunnel. Looking at the starry sky in front of him, Chen Guang vaguely felt that it was a little familiar. He flew forward for a while. Ha! A beautiful blue planet appeared in front of him. Earth? I flew back to Earth again. F***ck. Is this the world in a cup or the universe? My life journey is inexplicably turning into the sea of stars? This can't be. He passed through the atmosphere and rushed straight to the ground. As he flew through the air, he did not know if his speed had slowed down or if Chen Guang's brain was too fast, but he actually saw a huge eagle with wings flying forward. Well, it could also be a wild goose. In short, the bird was completely still in the air, like a suspended sculpture. This meant that time was still when he came back from the outside. There was a big house in front of him. It was the tribunal. I'm going to crash. Chen Guang covered his eyes with his head, but he did not crash. Instead, he strangely passed through the roof and rushed in. I saw the heavenly Holy Grail again. It was still floating in the air. Who is that idiot? Waving his fist and staring at it, who is he trying to hit? F***ck, isn't that me? Then who am I now? What the hell? Chen Guang's mind sank. He felt as if he had been carried by that white light and crashed into the heavenly Holy Grail, and was sucked in together with the white light. Then, he felt as if he had turned into a bean and was thrown into a millstone. He was ground into powder under the pressure of the white light and another red force. This was thoroughly powder, even worse than fresh pork thrown into a meat grinder. I'm going to die, right? This was what Chen Guang thought before this strand of consciousness completely dissipated. Then, he opened his eyes again. The familiar sea of clouds, the familiar Lioli. Although the smile on her face was very annoying, Chen Guang was really moved to tears. Taking advantage of the moment when she was pretending to be cool and smiling, he flew up and threw himself onto Liuli's body. He hugged her tightly and shouted, "My dear Liuli. What happened just now? Don't scare me. I thought I was dead once. That scared me to death." Chen Guang howled as he moved his hands up and down Liuli's smooth body. "Why are you so smooth? Why are you so tender?" This perfect tactile sensation was subverting my understanding of the perfect skin. I never thought that there could be such a perfect skin in the world that one would be intoxicated by just a gentle touch, not knowing how long it had been, not asking for anything else, and not asking for anything else. This touch is like taking drugs. No wonder he is a divine emperor. He had known Liuli for a long time. In the past, he had been drooling over her body, but he never had the chance to take advantage of her. But today, when she wasn't paying attention and he had just gone through a great change, Chen Guang mustered up his courage and hugged her. Chen Guang shouted in his heart. This round, smooth, and exquisite, but that was beyond the limits of the human world. How perfect! How terrifying! This is a black hole that can swallow my mind. This is the sun that can illuminate my life. This is the light of life, the beauty that shouldn't exist in the human world, the great creation that is the best in the endless divine realm. Bam! Chen Guang was finally kicked away by Liuli. "I don't care. You're not done yet, are you? Do you feel good taking advantage of me?" Liuli leaned forward and glared at Chen Guang. Lying on the ground, Chen Guang looked up. The shameful mist and the shameful mosaic ruined the user experience. "I really didn't do it on purpose. I was dizzy because of the unexpected situation just now. You can't blame me for that." Chen Guang refused to admit it. "I was really scared. What the hell is going on? Can you explain it to me a little bit?" Liuli glanced at him but didn't say anything else. Her expression suddenly became extremely solemn. Chen Guang's teasing expression also disappeared. The last time he saw Liuli with such an expression was when she revealed her true form as a divine emperor. If he remembered correctly, he had almost been shocked to death when he took one more look at her. Could it be that she is angry because I took advantage of her? Just as Chen Guang was thinking about this, he saw Liuli's figure become bigger and bigger, and her head soared into the sky. She was really going to reveal her true form as a divine emperor. See the heart and see the nature. Extremely evil creature. The wrath of a god, the thought is infinite, and the desire is infinite. See the spirit, and have a chance of survival. In the sky, Liuli, whose head reached the sky and feet touched the ground, suddenly recited loudly. Her voice resounded through the sea of clouds like thunder, causing the whole world in a cup to tremble crazily. Chapter 437. Chen Guang was so dizzy from the sound that he didn't know what was going on. He just muttered, "It's over. I'm so angry that I'm in the late stage of Chinibu." Liuli, however, ignored his nagging. The 5 fingers of the huge Dharmakaic descended from the sky and slapped the alto, pencil, and piano statues. With a loud bang, the 3 statues were completely smashed by Liuli's palm. The endless power of faith that was linked to the statues was also blown into ashes by this huge shock. Chen Guang held his head. This Chinibu is too serious. Even the statues that I've worked so hard to build have been torn down. Seeing spirit annihilation. A ray of heaven rises. Suddenly, Lu Li's real body shouted again, and thousands of rays of light emerged from her body. After the deity statue and the silk chain of the power of faith were shattered, the scattered energy also crazily rushed to the sky, from the distant void above the sea of clouds to the endless void. At the same time, 2 mixed energies, red and white, appeared at the same time. For streams of strange energy that Qin Guang had never seen before surrounded Liuli's real body. They merged together and condensed into a huge ball above the sea of clouds. Then, it fiercely smashed toward Qin Guang. Yes, it was indeed smashed toward Qin Guang. Qin Guang's mouth was wide open. He kept retreating, but how could he escape? With a loud bang, the ball hit Qin Guang like a bowling ball hitting an ant. Qin Guang fell to the ground. He felt that his body was about to be crushed. Damn, if I had known that eating tofu would cause such a big mess, I wouldn't have been so stupid. As he thought of this, he sat up, but the scene in front of him made his thoughts completely stop. The ball contained an endless amount of strange energy. After it hit him, it actually turned into a warm stream that wrapped around him, while he himself became a sponge that absorbed the flowing four-colored energy into his body. The legendary enlightenment. My body is going to be transformed. What a great relationship. Just as he was feeling happy, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. The soles of his feet were extremely itchy, so he picked them up to take a look. Two white pillars of air were coming out from the Yongquan acupoint at the soles of his feet, connecting to the sea of clouds below his feet. In the end, I'm a filter. It wasn't enlightenment at all. Just as he was thinking about this, the energy surging in from the outside world became even stronger, and the energy surging out from the soles of his feet also became even faster. Qin Guang's body began to float uncontrollably. He spread his arms wide and rose into the air, right in the middle of the round, water bowl. Looking through the hazy sphere, Liuli was sitting cross-legged on the ground in her true form of a divine emperor. She was casting some kind of technique, and the halo of light was flickering and flickering, making her look like the Buddha on TV. Gradually, the size of the sphere shrunk as time passed. After a long while, the entire sphere completely disappeared. This meant that all the power contained in it had been filtered and transformed within Qin Guang's body, and then poured into the sea of clouds of the Holy Grail. A loud rumbling sound came again, and a huge white city rose from the ground in front of the sea of clouds. Looking at this scene, Qin Guang was dumbfounded. Liuli has really done something big this time. Although he still couldn't figure out what's going on, he could tell that Liuli is formidable. After a long while, Liuli finally retracted her true form, shrinking back to the size of a normal person. The feather dress on her body also returned to its original appearance when they first met. It was ethereal and dignified. I know you have many questions. Listen to me slowly. Liuli floated down from the sky and landed in front of Qin Guang. Qin Guang was stunned. Her appearance had become so divine. It really gave me a strong urge to kneel down and worship him the moment I saw him. Little brat, why are you in a daze? Hurry up and come up with me. Liuli spoke again. She suddenly stretched out her hand and carried Qin Guang as she flew forward on the clouds. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. All right, it was still the same familiar formula and familiar smell. What's the use of this city? It looks like it's very powerful. Qin Guang couldn't help but ask as he looked at this city that was so huge that it was beyond his understanding. As he flew closer, he discovered that there was a stone platform at a fixed distance above the tall city wall. Currently, most of the stone platforms were empty, and only 3 of them had 3 statues standing. They were alto, a pencil, and a piano. Fortunately, the statue that I painstakingly erected is still there. Otherwise, it would be too sad if it was gone. Qin Guang imagined in his mind that the outer wall looked so cool. Would there be a magnificent and breathtaking palace waiting for him inside? But when he really flew above the city wall and saw inside, he shook his head, thinking that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Damn, after all this time, there was only a wall in this city, and it was even emptier than his wallet in the first half of the semester. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Look at your dissatisfied look. Do you know how important this wall is? Lioli rolled her eyes at him and threw him on the city wall. Then, she began to explain the drastic changes today. First of all, let me tell you a great piece of news. The heavenly Holy Grail has leveled up. It has finally crossed the first level of seeing the spirit sky and set foot on the second level, one-line sky. Ha! Aren't the 3,000 worlds divided into 9 levels? Chen Guang was shocked. According to my precise calculations, I thought there would be a few hundred of them in the first level of seeing the spirit sky. Lioli shrugged. That's true under normal circumstances. Without the support of the statue, if you want to level up the Holy Grail, you can only clear all the worlds in the cup level by level. In addition, the number of seeing the spirit sky isn't a few hundred, but 2,187. There are a total of 729 worlds in the cup of the second level, one-line sky. The third level. Alright, there's no need to say any more. Please don't explain this despairing matter so clearly. After Lioli finished explaining the entire matter, Chen Guang finally understood. She had been secretly surrounding the 3 statues to do something big. In fact, it was all in preparation for today. Recently, she had been suppressing her anger and watching him being unable to do anything because of Wang Ren's matter. Yet, she had purposely disappeared and pretended to be offline. It was all for today. This swindling god emperor was extremely evil. She wanted him to be angered to death more than anyone else. The angrier he was, the better. Among the 4 types of energy that he had seen just now, the red energy was the anger that had condensed in his heart when he was preparing to punch Wang Ren. The angrier I am, the stronger the red anger is. When the anger exceeds a certain limit, she can use it and turn it into this red flame of anger. The white energy that mixed with the flame of anger is the nameless white light that broke through his body in the endless starry sky and came through the crack. The 10,000 rays of light are the god power within Lioli's body. The final wave of energy was the energy of the Holy Grail itself, which was released by the 3 shattered statues and the threads of faith power. You mean to say that my anger just now, together with the 3 statues, triggered the Holy Grail to upgrade? Am I that powerful? Why didn't you tell me earlier? You scared me. Chen Guang asked. Lioli covered her mouth and laughed. If I told you, you would be mentally prepared. This anger wouldn't be effective no matter how hard you try. Furthermore, I was just trying it out. I didn't really think it would work. Actually, your anger is just a primer. It's just to stimulate your emotions to the critical point of the Holy Grail's own changes. The rest still depends on me and the Holy Grail to make up for it. Emotions are just a primer for God power. In the endless God realm, there are many gods who rely on emotions like anger to cultivate. This is like a switch, a key. Once the door to the Holy Grail is opened, the Holy Grail's own power will be released. Alright, I understand a little bit. Come to think of it, just now I felt that time had stopped. No matter what I looked at, my eyes would desperately zoom in. What the hell is that? Also, why did I end up in the starry sky and cut open the stomach of something? In the end, I returned to the court with that white light and saw myself standing there staring back at the Holy Grail. This timing doesn't match up. If I remember correctly, I first turned around to look at the cup, and then I was sucked in. I ran into the starry sky who knows how far away. Then, I was brought back by the white light through the tunnel, and then I saw myself standing there like a fool. This timing doesn't match up. It's a dead end. Why do I feel that this is the same as the Ouroboros in the myths? Lioli chuckled. Don't ask me. I don't really understand it either. This is the Holy Grail's own mystery. When you truly conquer the Holy Grail, you'll understand the reason behind it. Let me guess if I'm right. You're saying that when I leveled up from seeing spirit sky to one-line sky, the Holy Grail's energy fluctuations caused the space-time disorder. Other people's time has stopped, but my own timeline is still moving. The disorder in time will cause the disorder in my space. Then, everything I see will be constantly magnified. Chen Guang asked. Lioli curled her lips. I already told you not to discuss it with me. Your words sound like a heavenly book to me. I don't understand. You're a god emperor. You're so disappointing. Aren't god emperors omnipotent? I'm indebted to you for thinking so highly of me. I really can't thank you enough. Then, what are the benefits of leveling up from seeing spirit sky to one-line sky? You can't just leave it at this place and call it a day, right? Chen Guang asked the question he was most concerned about. Lioli covered her mouth and laughed. One-line sky's world in a cup will appear on the city wall one day in advance. As long as I'm willing, I can tell you one day in advance so that you can prepare early. In addition, the skills and characteristics that World in a Cup can support will also change. In the future, you might be able to practice something more skillful. The function of World in a Cup will also become stronger. If you can erect more god statues, with the blessing of the power of faith, you might even be able to create a world in a cup. F***ck, that's great. I don't need to become the anal prolapse king in the future. Right? Chen Guang was overjoyed. Lioli smiled without saying a word. Right? Chen Guang's voice became even softer. Right? He began to become weak. Big sis, don't trick me. It depends on your mood and your performance. Chen Guang only wanted to say, what the F***ck, by the way, you said I can choose a world in a cup. Can I build a super strong harem of 3,000 beauties? Lioli. Chapter 438. Before Chen Guang was kicked out of the cup realm, he received a piece of good news. The temperamental and unreasonable Madame Azure actually offered to help him. She asked him not to rush to make a move on Wang Ren and to leave the rest to her. Chen Guang was touched. She had never been so considerate before. As expected, the treatment after the big upgrade was different. I'm starting to be respected. No, in fact, she should have done something about this matter long ago, but she had turned a blind eye to it. She was purposely making him angry. Now that the Holy Grail had been upgraded, he didn't need to be angry anymore, so she offered to help. He didn't know whether he should be happy or hurt. In the blink of an eye, he returned to the real world. Wang Ren's annoying face appeared in front of him again. However, Chen Guang suddenly withdrew his fist and turned to leave. This was Azure's order. Countless people in front of the television were dumbfounded. They were thinking, what's wrong with this young man? Why did he make a move and leave just like that? Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, there was a loud bang. A bright snowflake appeared on Wang Ren's head and he fell backward. Wang Ren, who had been stubborn just a second ago, fell to the ground in the next instant. Those who were timid looked down and vomited in disgust. He had been shot in the head. Who did it? Not far away, Su Lijing was holding a gun with both hands. There was still smoke coming out of the muzzle. His expression was extremely angry as he cursed, unfilial son who can't do anything right. I'll kill you. The bailiff beside Su Lijing touched his waist. When did his gun end up in this old man's hands? Su Lijing, who had protected his son all his life, actually stole the bailiff's gun in front of everyone in the public court and shot his own son. It was so unimaginable and unbelievable that everyone was in a trance for a moment. However, they could only sigh in regret. Heaven's justice was clear, and retribution was unpleasant. It was unexpected, but it also seemed to have been predestined. The bailiff who had his gun stolen was extremely flustered and perplexed. There were no bullets in his gun. What situation was this? The whole nation was in an uproar. What was wrong with this court? In the end, the person who wanted to uphold justice the most held back from punching, but the person who wanted to protect Wang Ren's life the most killed his own son. The TV signal was cut off at the first possible moment. The Dechuan TV station did not even think about what advertisement to broadcast. After a 30-second silence, the Dechuan TV station began broadcasting an old drama that was scheduled to air in the afternoon half an hour later. It was the last 2 episodes of the finale of Black Hole. The group of old people in the small building in Yanjing were also stunned by the short scene before the live broadcast was interrupted. Coupled with this emergency drama, it was even more ironic. The old man, who had been laughing and joking around, was silent for a long time. One of the old men frowned and said, "What are these people from Dechuan television station thinking? Such a big thing just happened, and now you're broadcasting an anti-corruption drama. Are you trying to slap us in the face?" The old man in the middle took a heavy sip of tea. "Old Tang, don't be too sensitive. Don't you see that there are only 30 episodes on it? I saw this once a few years ago when I had the time. It seems like it's about to end. It's just a coincidence. Even if it's just a coincidence, we can't accept this drama." The old man from before was still a little angry. He picked up his phone and was about to make a call. The old man's surname Jean waved his hand. "Old Tang, forget it. If you make that call, won't you be cutting off the Sarft's livelihood? Who would dare broadcast public trials in the future? Actually, in my opinion, this is the right thing to do. Well done. It's time to give some people a reminder and give them a warning." The old man's surname Jiang, who had always been at odds with the old man's surname Jean, also nodded. It was rare for the two of them to reach a consensus. The old man in the middle concluded the matter with his final words. Emir Su Lijing connived with Emir School's Wang Ren and caused such a terrible impact. This is also a reminder to all of us. It's time to deal with this matter. We are indeed dealing with it now, but we are not doing enough. Not only were the group of old men shocked, but the ordinary viewers in front of their computers and televisions were also dumbfounded. The more timid children and girls even cried on the spot. Su Lijing's performance was too crazy. The courtroom immediately turned into chaos. The gun was still in Su Lijing's hand. Su Lijing seemed to be stunned as the two bailiffs pounced on him and pinned him to the ground before snatching the gun away. Su Lijing's stiffness did not last long as he quickly struggled up and shouted, "What are you doing? You can't treat an official like this." One of the bailiffs punched Su Lijing in the back of the head. "You call yourself an official? You shot your nephew in front of so many people. You call yourself an official? What?" Su Lijing was even more shocked and confused than the others. As he was pinned to the ground, he slowly looked up and saw Wang Ren lying on the ground. His head had been smashed like a rotten watermelon. The ground was covered in dark red blood and white brain matter. It was a shocking sight. He did not completely lose his memory of what had just happened, so he could recall it with a little thought. Su Lijing's face immediately turned ashen. What happened to me? How could I shoot my own son to death? When did I get the gun? I've never used a gun before. How could I shoot so accurately? I admit that I was indeed angry. I was angry that he was so insolent on the live broadcast. It was indeed annoying, but I never thought of killing him. Looking at the commotion, Wu Shan also sighed. Su Lijing must have lost his mind from anger. Chen Guang's expression was indifferent. Who knows? This is probably retribution. Now that Wang Ren had died in court, his sentence of life imprisonment or death penalty was meaningless. Su Lijing's trial was supposed to follow immediately, but because of the sudden situation, the trial had to be adjourned. What goes around comes around. Good and evil will always have their retribution. Su Lijing deserves what he has today. Actually, it's quite a pity for him. If these things did not happen, he would have been the leading figure in our country's economics field. He might not be famous in history, but at least 100 years later, people who study economics will remember his name. Wu Shan and Chen Guang walked side by side to the entrance of the hall. They looked at Su Lijing, who was being escorted by 2 bailiffs. Su Lijing's face was blank, and his eyes were hollow. Chen Guang shook his head. Uncle Wu, you might not be right. No matter what others do, if they really do something and leave behind works, even if they are evil, they will still be remembered. In ancient times, there was Liu Sanbian, who lingered in the brothel and never returned. He was a lecherous lecher, but his poems were also achievements and contributions. 100 years later, if people forget Su Lijing, it will have nothing to do with what happened today. To put it bluntly, it was because he did not learn well. It has nothing to do with his character, so I don't feel sorry for him at all. Chapter 439. I didn't expect you to be so insightful at such a young age. I have to be insightful, or else I'll be played by you seniors. Chen Guang teased. Wu Shan was stunned. I don't think so. I feel like you're the one playing us. With your brain, it's a pity you're not in politics. Huh? Did I say I'm not in politics? Chen Guang was puzzled. Wu Shan patted his head. Do you really not know, or are you pretending not to know? Anyone who knows the inside story knows that you, Chen Guang, are the mastermind behind Su Lijing's case. Who doesn't know that you, Chen Guang, are a troublemaker? Do you think we would dare to let someone like you enter politics? Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. Ha! I don't believe that if I insist on taking the civil service exam, you won't let me register. What are you talking about? Wu Shan was almost speechless at him. As the two of them were chatting, there was a sudden commotion in front of them. The crowd was in chaos. Su Lijing jumped off the building. On the 5th floor, Su Lijing was sprawled on the ground. His blood splattered all over the ground, staining it red. Chen Guang was lying on the balcony, staring at the pile of minced meat on the ground. His ears were filled with the commotion, but his mind was empty. He looked up at the sky and felt that the blue sky and white clouds had never been so bright. Old man Su was dead. How did he die? Was he forced to die by me? No, he was forced to die by himself. The dirtier a person's heart is, the more fragile it is. Only a righteous person can have no desires and be fearless. Su Lijing was not righteous enough and had evil intentions. He spoiled his son and did not know how to discipline him. He had done too many wrong things for his son, and he knew that he could not be forgiven. There were too many things he didn't dare to face, so the old man chose this path in the end. He leaped and sought a quick release, just like how Ding Lu took poison years ago, and just like how Su Lijing jumped off a building today. There had always been 2 explanations for people who committed suicide. One was that they had the greatest courage and were not afraid of death. The other was that they had the greatest cowardice and did not even dare to live. Under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for officials at Su Lijing's level to die even if they wanted to. At the very least, there were very few precedents of officials at his level being sentenced to death. Of course, if he hadn't jumped off the building, he would have been the first to do so. Covering up and harboring, hiring an assassin to kill, killing in court, especially the last one, not to mention how bad the impact was, it happened in front of everyone's eyes, it really made the defense lawyer lose the courage to defend himself. If he was sentenced to several crimes, even if he didn't die, he would die. As for the other person involved in the case, Xiang Guoming, the once glorious President Xiang, there was no more hope for him to live. Once all the cases were investigated, the case of Ling Qin's family was just a minor detail. Xiang Guoming's case was much more serious and vile than this. 2 hands and 10 fingers wouldn't be able to solve it. It's over. Ling Qin, who was beside Chen Guang, said faintly. Her voice sounded particularly tired, and there was a sense of death in it. Chen Guang turned his head to look at her. There was no surprise in his heart that he had succeeded. He only felt that the smell of silence from this woman was almost devouring his life. Ling Qin turned around and gave Chen Guang a smile. Her smile was so pitiful that the centipede-like scar on her face exuded a poignant beauty. Chen Guang looked at Su Lijing, who had jumped off the building, and then looked at Ling Qin. He realized something and suddenly grabbed her shoulder. Sister Lang. You. Ling Qin smiled again. She unscrewed the mineral water bottle in her hand and drank the remaining half in one gulp. Then she threw the bottle to the ground. Her breathing gradually became more and more rapid, and a strange flush began to appear on her face. Within a few seconds, the blood vessels in her eyes appeared, and then densely covered her entire eyes. Her body began to tremble violently. No! Chen Guang's mouth opened wider and wider. Ling Qin's symptoms made him extremely frightened. Unexpectedly, Ling Qin was still smiling. Her smile was so relieved and free. This might be the most beautiful smile in the world. It could be deeply engraved in people's hearts. Even if Chen Guang recalled it many years later, he could forget the sadness and pain under her smile. Chen Guang, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that there are still good people in this world. Ling Qin's voice was getting lower and lower. Tears flowed uncontrollably from Chen Guang's eyes and blurred his eyes. He wanted to bravely reach out to hold Ling Qin, but his hands were shaking so badly that he didn't even have the strength to lift them. Don't cry, really, don't cry for me. You don't know how happy I am to be able to reunite with my family. A soul like me can go to heaven. Ling Qin's hand touched Chen Guang's face and touched his hot tears. Chen Guang choked with sobs. I should have thought of it. I should have thought of it when you didn't let me remove the mosaic. I was too stupid. Ling Qin's fingers were shaking more and more violently. Don't blame yourself for me. Otherwise, I won't be able to leave in peace. I have always carried this potassium cyanide capsule with me. I have already decided. You can't stop me. In fact, I should have died in the car accident. Now, I just delayed it for a few more days because I have to leave quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to catch up with my family. Please don't be sad for me. For many years, I have never been as happy as I am now. I have to leave. You are my benefactor. It is my fault to make you sad. A good person like you must live a happier life than anyone else. Promise me, okay? Promise me. Chen Guang's nose was sour as if he had drunk a liter of vinegar. I promise you. Ling Qin turned her face away. She could no longer see anything. Her mouth was bleeding crazily. Her body gradually stopped trembling. She held onto the balcony and looked up at the dazzling sun in the sky. The smile on her face bloomed like a peony in midsummer. Ling Qin left. She left in front of Chen Guang. She left in front of Old Han and Guoming. She left in front of everyone who came out of the public trial hall. Perhaps she would go to a country where no one could see, touch, or see her. She would reunite with her family and live a happy life. Perhaps she would turn into a strong winter sweet, stubbornly growing on some island with birds chirping and flowers fragrant. At this moment, in the sports bag that no one could see, the light of the heavenly Holy Grail was flickering silently, at the same frequency as a person's heartbeat. Ling Qin's parents finally could not control the grief in their hearts. They cried on the balcony. Chen Guang held back his tears and buried his sadness. Because he had promised Ling Qin that he would live a happier life. People have many ways to live. Some are brilliant, some are calm, some are depraved, and some are open-minded. Some lives are long and some are short. Some are noble and some are lowly. Ling Qin chose to end her life at this special moment. For her, it was the most free and easy thing to do. Regardless of the rights and wrongs in the court, Chen Guang and the others helped Ling Qin's family take care of her funeral. In the evening, watching the plane carrying Ling Qin's ashes fly into the sky, everyone's sorrow seemed to fade away with the roar of the plane. Guoming patted Chen Guang's shoulder. She was a brave person. She will definitely be reincarnated into a good life in her next life. Wearing a smile, Chen Guang replied, "Who knows if there's really an afterlife? Life is so fragile. In just one day, 3 people have died. That's why life is short. We have to enjoy ourselves while we can." Shuo Jingxi's words were filled with deep emotion and profound meaning. Chapter 440. That night, Chen Guang, Lu Fei, Zhong Bai, Wang Qing, Shuo Jingxi, Fan Lingshan, Hua Ling, Zhong Yu, Old Han, and Guoming were all drunk in Hailing Pavilion. During this period, Chen Guang received a lot of calls on and off. Some were from his father, Chen Guoli, some were from his 3 grandsons, and some were from Wu Tong. Speaking of which, it was funny. Wu Tong didn't know that things had gotten to this point until today. She complained to Chen Guang on the phone for a long time. She blamed herself and gritted her teeth in hatred. In the end, she didn't help at all. Her words were full of blame for Chen Guang hiding it from her from the beginning to the end. If she had known this would happen, she would have rushed back to help even if she had to go on a strike. Chen Guang made countless empty promises in succession before Wu Tong settled down. Jiang Yage also called. She was persuading Chen Guang that this matter was finally over and that he shouldn't get involved in such things in the future. She heard from her sources that many people in a certain circle who had reached a certain level were now afraid of Chen Guang. They were afraid of him to death and hated him to the core. Some people even called Jin Shiyue directly and asked Jin Shiyue to help persuade her boyfriend to not be so impulsive in the future. If there was anything, everyone should discuss it. She always took things to the internet and made it so that they wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. She really forced Su Lijing to die. How scary was that? Chen Guang didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard that. Did those people really think that he's a fighter jet? It's not like he knows them, and they didn't come at him. So there's no need for him to shoot them one by one. He didn't even know what they had done. Why would he find trouble with them? Of course, Chen Guang didn't say anything definite. His subtext was that if they didn't bump into each other, of course he wouldn't care. But if they bumped into each other, then it would be hard to say. Jiang Yage laughed at him, saying that he really wanted to be a fighter for the people. However, Chen Guang said that since things had already come to this, he had to jump out and say that they shouldn't be afraid, that he was really a good and harmless youth. Would others believe him? Just as Chen Guang had guessed, the discussion about Su Lijing's case on the internet had never stopped since the live broadcast of the public trial was interrupted in the afternoon. At first, the world's attention was still on the almighty Superman, who had been on the front line since the beginning. It was not until a bombshell post appeared on the internet that the public was shocked. Almighty Superman equals Chen Guang equals Jin Shiyue's boyfriend. There was another uproar in the country. In Chen Guang's life creed, there had always been such a sentence: people are afraid of being famous, pigs are afraid of being fat. Therefore, he didn't want to be famous at all. Even if he ran the Weibo account of Almighty Superman, even if his online celebrity account had tens of millions of fans, and the number of active fans could be ranked at least in the top 20 in the entire Weibo world, he never thought of taking off his mask. Even if he couldn't get advertising fees from the media to avoid real name authentication, he still refused to do authentication and didn't add any accounts. Up until today, this strategy that he was most proud of had been very successful. However, this long Weibo post, titled "Almighty Superman equals Chen Guang equals Jin Shiryue's boyfriend," had completely turned him inside out. This was definitely written by an insider who was in the know. He came prepared. A few months ago, Jin Jiang was rescued from the painting lake in Wujing City. At that time, the underwear Superman had caused a heated discussion on the internet, but later, because the real person couldn't be found, the matter faded away. However, this long article linked the underwear Superman to Chen Guang himself, because not long after the painting lake incident, Chen Guang amazed the world in the school's swimming competition. The author of the long article even found 2 photos from different periods, one of which was taken when Chen Guang was sprinting in the painting lake as the underwear Superman, and the other was taken when Chen Guang was sprinting in the swimming pool during the school competition. One of these 2 photos was published on the internet, and the other was published in the school newspaper. It was not difficult to get the material. Comparing the 2, even if the face couldn't be seen, the back, figure, and even swimming posture were exactly the same, and the speed shown was not much different. This explained why Jin Shiryue and Jiang Yage knew Chen Guang, and why they knew the Almighty Superman. Then, the author of the long article talked about the conflict between Chen Guang and Wang Ren in the Jianhuan school, and the conflict when Zhuo Jingxi went to borrow equipment from the laboratory after Wang Ren was transferred to the School of Chemical Engineering. Chen Guang and Wang Ren once again intensified the conflict, and in less than 2 days, Wang Ren's bad news was exposed on the account of the Almighty Superman. Then, the author mentioned the Weibo post of his friend's relative that the Almighty Superman had posted in the Southeast province. He mentioned that at this time, Chen Guang was not in Wujing, but in the Southeast province. 2 days later, Chen Guang came back from the Southeast province, and he brought back a girl from the Southeast province. After this long and detailed analysis, coupled with the performance of the Almighty Superman during the whole process of the Wang Ren and Su Lijun case, the author finally came to the conclusion that Chen Guang was the Almighty Superman himself, and he was also the boyfriend that Jin Shiryue had announced to the public, who was currently studying at the university with the surname Chen. Finally, there was a candid photo of Chen Guang's face without any traces of Photoshop, and a screenshot of the angry and violent Chen Guang's face on the TV. The entire article was supported by all kinds of evidence, and it was convincing. Therefore, after it was posted, it received more than 500,000 shares in just 2 hours. Moreover, it would continue to be popular, and it would get out of hand. The most important point that blew up the news was, of course, the identity of Jin Shiryue's boyfriend. Jin Shiryue, who had never had any scandals in the 10 years since her debut, was the one who stood out and admitted that she was in love, but she did not make it clear who her boyfriend was. Now that it was exposed, the news was simply explosive. Chen Guang's phone was almost exploding with calls. He did not do anything else that night, and dragged his tipsy state to answer one call after another in the dormitory. "Son, didn't you always say that Jiang Yage is supporting you? Why is the internet saying that you are Jin Shiryue's boyfriend? How many things are you hiding from me? Celebrities these days are way too wild. Why are their tastes so strong? No wonder you look so weak. So there is such an inside story. No, it seems that the tonic soup I made for you last time was not enough. I have to think of another way." This was a call from Chenguli. Chen Guang was afraid of the tonic soup. After rambling for a long time, he finally convinced him that there was nothing going on between him and Jin Shiyue. Jin Shiyue said that to help Jiang Yage cover up, and he was still the innocent good boy who was only supported by Jiang Yage. Then, Tang Ying, Wen Wen, Wu Tong, and even Zhuo Jingxi and Lu Fei, whom he had just separated from, called again. Chen Guang almost talked until his saliva was almost dry before he finally calmed them down. Among them, Bain Yangzi, that bastard was the most inhumane. Chen Guang was so anxious that he was about to explode, and this guy actually opened his mouth. Yo! Brother Guang. I knew that with your merciful personality, you would never save people for nothing. I knew that you had something going on with your left and right hand. The ancients did not lie to me. We are brothers in this world. How about asking your Jin Shiyue to do me a favor and endorse my novel? Your promotion last time wasn't very effective, I'm going to fail again. Chen Guang only gave this grandson one sentence, get lost as far as your thoughts can go. After hanging up the call with Bain Yangzi, his phone finally calmed down. He looked at the time on his phone, and it was already past 1 in the morning. He was sober, and he was not sleepy at all. It was very awkward in the middle of the night. Chapter 441. Bitterly sitting on the chair, he pressed the power button on the computer. Listening to the cold whistling of the wind in the dormitory outside, Chen Guang felt bored to death and had nothing to live for. Originally, after settling the trivial matters of the mortal world, he should have been able to enter the Buddhist gate. Every moment of the spring night was worth 1,000 gold, and he should have appeared on Zhuo Jingxi's bed, enjoying the warm and fragrant jade. But in reality, he was squatting alone in the dormitory, feeling depressed and helpless. It wasn't that he had no desires, but that he had the desire to kill the enemy, but the enemy had put up a fight. The drunk Chen Guang was driven back by Zhuo Jingxi. He originally wanted to follow her to Teacher Zhuo's house. Even if the doctor said that she had to rest for a month, it was still a happy thing to have a little fun. Unfortunately, Teacher Zhuo was still thin-skinned. In front of outsiders, she insisted that Chen Guang keep his distance, saying that if others saw that a teacher and student had an abnormal relationship, it would not be a good influence. In the future, he had to be more careful. No matter what happened between the two of them in private, as long as there was a third party watching, he had to restrain himself. Chen Guang said that she wanted to have a secret relationship, but Zhuo Jingxi said that she wanted to keep a secret mistress and let her be. But even though it was in private, she didn't even give him a chance to be alone. She also said that Ling Shan, a little girl, was still living in the same house. It wasn't good for the two of them to hang out together. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Now you know that the influence is not good. That night, when we did it for the first time, you didn't even know how loud you screamed. You don't know that when I carried you out the door that day, a certain little sister who was eavesdropping heard you and her legs went soft, okay? If I remember correctly, when she fell in, one of her hands was also in her crotch. But nothing he said was useful. Zhuo Jingxi was stubborn and only stubbornly insisted that she had to follow the doctor's advice. They couldn't really do anything. Weren't you just causing trouble for the two of them by coming here? Chen Guang quibbled. I swear, I definitely won't do anything. I just want to quietly hug you and fall asleep. Zhuo Jingxi replied with 2 words, hee hee. Fine, she was the cave master, and Chen Guang was a guest. If the host didn't let him in, the guest couldn't just break the door and enter, right? So now, Chen Guang was alone in the dormitory. He was bored to death and had nothing to live for. Suddenly, he thought of something. Strange, why didn't Sun Xiaoxuan call when everyone else called? Although he had to explain every time he received a call, it was quite a headache. In the end, after everything settled down, he actually began to worry about his gains and losses again. In fact, he thought that Sun Xiaoxuan would have contacted him a long time ago, but she hadn't done anything these days. Although he didn't want to admit it, he felt a little disappointed. After logging into WeChat and looking at the messages, he found out that Sun Xiaoxuan had gone abroad last week. She said that she followed her aunt to some university research lab as an assistant. He guessed that she had been busy these days and didn't know how old she was. Chen Guang remembered that when he first entered university, he heard from Sun Xiaoxuan that her aunt was a senior researcher in some foreign research institute. She entered the university with the intention of going abroad for postgraduate studies. All she could think of was getting into Massachusetts Institute of Technology or Princeton. In short, it was the kind that made people feel ashamed of themselves just by looking at their names. So, she had been a straight-A student all these years. It seemed that she had prepared in advance for this semester's summer vacation. Sigh, this woman. Once she had a career, she forgot about her man. She felt sorry for herself for 30 seconds. Just as he was thinking about this, Sun Xiaoxuan's call really came. She cried on the phone for a long time. Sure enough, these days she stayed in the closed research institute and didn't have time to go online. It was only when Gaoye called her during lunch that she found out that such a big thing had happened in the university. If she had known earlier, she would have simply returned to China to help. Chen Guang thought to himself, what can you do by coming back? But on the surface, he comforted her. Don't worry, it's no big deal. Didn't you see that I had the last laugh? The world was full of vicissitudes. No matter how powerful and influential people like Wang Ren and Su Lijing were, they couldn't beat the justice of the world. By the way, you and Jin Shiyue. After going around in circles for so long, Sun Xiaoxuan still went around to this question. If she didn't ask, she would feel uneasy. In fact, this was the main reason why Gaoye called her. Chen Guang repeated what he had almost memorized. What kind of person am I? What kind of person is Jin Shiyue? Can she really have an affair with me? No one would believe me even if I said it. You know, I usually listen to their songs. I'm just a groupie. How can a groupie chase after a star and end up chasing the person? After that, the little girl happily went to the laboratory to busy herself. Little girls were so innocent that they believed everything Chen Guang said. After hanging up the call with Sun Xiaoxuan, Chen Guang still couldn't sleep. He went online and found that his Weibo had completely exploded. Almighty be *tch. Give me back my goddess. I swear to live and die with the goddess. I sacrifice my blood for the emperor. Kill this son of a *tch who tarnishes the goddess. This was a message left by Jin Shiyue's fanatic fans, which Chen Guang responded with a cold smile. You pitiful losers can only vent your frustrations on the internet. Why don't you try shouting before me? Let's see if I won't beat you to tears. Almighty Bro is a winner in life. He's so talented and has a beauty falling for him. I'm so jealous. Almighty Bro taught me how to pick up girls. I'll pay for it. Be reasonable. Almighty Bro is quite handsome, if you don't look at his face. No matter what you think, I'll be a fan of this Almighty Bro, regardless of whether I can get the beauty or not, at least I've won. I wish you a blissful life. Everyone, what should I do now? I'm a fan of both of them. I love them both. I'm so confused. Please help me. I'm a man. I'm bisexual. This was a rational fan. Although Jin Shiyue is very beautiful and a big star, I still have to say that there's no future in dating a star. Hubby, F*ck me. Please message me privately. I love you, Almighty Bro, and I'll support you until the end of time. Facing this reply, which was read in the middle of a sea of greenery, Chen Guang held back for a long time and didn't click on it to send her a private message. Although he was really moved, he was now a public figure. He had to pay attention to his image. Looking at the uproar on the internet, Chen Guang also thought it through. Well, since things had come to this, there was no use in hiding. I can't hide it anymore. I admit it. So what if I'm famous? I'll just wear a mask when I go out in the future. No, that long article exposed my identity. I won't really be blocked at the door, right? F***K, just imagining the scene. I'm sitting in the classroom, listening attentively to a lecture. Outside, there are 180 people holding torches, wanting to burn me, Jin Shuyue's boyfriend. Although I'm good at fighting, I still feel a little panicky. Damn, please don't let me find out which bastard posted that revealing Weibo. I'll definitely beat him up until he can't take care of himself. Since things had come to this, he might as well upload his personal information. It was time to apply for a social media account to earn some advertising fees. It would be a waste if he didn't do it. With the old man's current popularity, he could start a social media account and post some soft articles from time to time. He could be a happy online celebrity. Even if it wasn't a lot, he would at least earn 500,000 yuan a month, right? Just thinking about it made him happy. Earning money while lying down was just that happy. He had spent a lot of money on this online celebrity account. It seemed like he would be able to earn back the money in less than a year. The old man was really a business genius. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about Liuli cheating him. Speaking of which, now that everything had been settled, Liuli, the financial butler, hadn't made any moves. She must have forgotten about this, right? There was still a little more than 170 million in the bank account. Damn, so much money. I don't even know how to spend it. Let me count with my fingers. Helping a girl from the Film and Television Academy would earn about tens of thousands a month. I can help her for a total of 3,400 months. How is it enough to just help one person? The old man is such a strong pile driver. He has to be more philanthropic and broad-minded. He shouldn't go out and greet people without at least 8 to 10. Then let's count it as 340 months, a total of 28 years. I'll be 21 soon. I'll be able to enjoy myself until I'm 50. Chen Guang's eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. He was a little excited just thinking about it. In the future, I must be a philanthropist who loves to help others and is willing to help the poor and the needy. It was a bloody lesson that taught people not to raise flags for themselves, especially on how they should spend their money, because karma came too quickly. Just as he was feeling smug, his phone suddenly rang. He looked down and his face darkened. What would come sooner or later. The money was gone. Brother's 170 million has been spent. Liuli made her move. No longer caring about his identity being exposed, Chen Guang picked up the cup and plunged into the sea of clouds. He roared hoarsely, Liuli. My money. My money. What did you do with it? Liuli, who was sitting in the middle of the empty Yunqing and enjoying the largest private room in the internet cafe in history, raised her head and smiled mysteriously at him. Guess. I guess your whole family. The ups and downs of life really came too suddenly, catching people off guard. Chen Guang fell to the ground with a thud. His heart ached. Chapter 442. I once had 170 million in front of me, but I didn't cherish it. No, I cherished it, but a thief coveted it. It was only after I lost it that I regretted it. When he saw the message on his phone, Chen Guang thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Was there something wrong with UBS's system? didn't you claim to be the safest bank on earth? Didn't I have to go through all the procedures and sign a bunch of documents when I transferred 10 million to Zhu Jifao last time? Why did it disappear just like that? Anyway, I don't believe it. This was not as simple and cheap as buying an inflatable doll online. This was 170 million. 170 million was enough for me to help 10 cute girls for 28 years, and it was gone just like that. He didn't believe it, not even if he was beaten to death. So he entered the world in the cup and cried with Luli, just to verify his thoughts, that things were not as bad as he thought. In the end, she said, guess. At this moment, Chen Guang wanted to remove the words guess and youth from the Xinhua dictionary. He rolled on the ground, throwing a tantrum. No. I won't do it. How did you do it? It's gone just like that. At least let me sign it. I want to file a complaint against UBS, I want to sue them. Save it, you signed it. You signed it long ago. You were just waiting for the transfer today. Luli laughed. What? When did I sign it? I don't remember it at all. Chen Guang was confused. Then, he looked at Luli's smiling face and instantly understood. Damn, the old man was tricked. I must have secretly hypnotized her at some point in time and then ran to sign the papers. So I don't remember anything. Luli laughed again, with a look that said, you're smart. It's over. My last hope is gone. The money is really gone. Chen Guang's face was lifeless. His heart was dead, as if he had been sentenced to death. I don't care. I won't do it. I don't want to live, I don't want to live. I'll die in front of you. Money. 170 million. Angina pectoris, bronchitis, meningitis, and lumbar disc herniation all came. The money I earned with my life. In short, I don't want to live anymore. No one can stop me. Let me die. I want to die. This blow was really too painful. Even if old Master Guang had a heart of steel, he would still be smashed to pieces. When he thought of all that money, all right, I can't think about it anymore. I really can't think about it anymore. What? Someone said that Lioli used it to invest in business. Could you please stop fooling around? Letting a female otaku whose brain was filled with business skills learned from Big Time and The Winds of Time invest? It was better to just deposit the money in the bank and earn the interest. At this moment, Chen Guang's pitiful state was enough to make anyone who heard it cry. Throughout the past 5,000 years, no one had been more miserable than him. The wind was bleak, the water was cold, the 170 million did not return. Even Lioli, the instigator of all this, felt her nose turn sour. It was really a tragedy. Although the business handover had not been completed yet, it was better to let him know a little to make him happy. All right, stop howling. It's not like I'm donating it to you. I'm really making an investment. I bought a company. I'm very optimistic about this business. How is it? Are you happy? Look at how you don't do proper work all day long. This emperor is such a considerate butler of the emperor, and you've become a big boss just by lying down. Your privately owned company. Don't you look forward to it just thinking about it? Ha! I bought a company. Then wouldn't I be promoted in the future? I'll become Boss Guang. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. Damn, I'm scared to death. He didn't use it to invest in stocks or funds, nor did he use it to buy lottery tickets. Instead, he bought a company. This was really something to be thankful for. Right, what company is it? Where is it? Where are my employees? Are there many? Are there any beauties among the employees? Where's my office? Where's my factory? I'm going to my company for a stroll. A company that's worth 170 million can't possibly be one of those shell companies, right? Lioli began to laugh again. Take a guess. Chen Guang was speechless. No matter how Chen Guang coaxed and pestered, Lioli refused to reveal anything in the end. She only said that she would tell him when the time came and the handover was completed. At that time, he could just drive his phaeton there and act cool as a boss. How worry-free. Chen Guang couldn't do anything about her. He forced himself to look forward to the unknown industry and company that he didn't know where it was and what it was doing. Just as he was beginning to feel happy in his heart, Lioli revealed a little more. Don't be afraid. What investment judgment do I have? This company is a very popular emerging industry in your world now. I've seen their business report. The annual net income is close to 100 million. After deducting the cost, they'll earn at least 50 to 60 million. This time, they've picked up a huge bargain. The boss of that company must have a hole in his head. How could he sell such a profitable company? I've been in the investment market for a long time before waiting for this heaven-sent opportunity. What the F***ck? The vitality that had just been ignited was extinguished by Lioli's words. How could someone with a business worth 100 or 200 million be a person with a hole in his head? Was it really so profitable that they could sell it so easily? How could a large company with a net annual profit of 50 to 60 million be sold for 170 million? No matter how one looked at it, they felt like they were living in a dream. Do you know anything about economics or business? Not to mention pure profit, a company with a net income of more than 100 million, even if it didn't have a single cent of net profit and could barely make ends meet, it wouldn't be sold for 170 million. Why are you looking at me like that? You don't believe me. You're not being a good friend. We can't be friends in the future. I can let you sign at the bank without knowing it, and I can also let you drink water when you're squatting to take a dump. Lord Lioli is wise. Unparalleled in strategy. With Lord Lioli's help, Chen Guang will definitely be able to rise to the top. Next year, I'll be on Forbes. What was the use of the so-called moral integrity? It was sold at that time. At the critical moment, it was sold at a worthwhile price. It was worth it. After spending so much time with Lioli, Chen Guang had already understood the mystery. Although she knew that he was talking nonsense, Lioli was still very pleased. Look at what you're saying. Even I'm a little embarrassed. You're doing quite well. Come, let me show you something good. There's a surprise. As she spoke, Lioli stood up, picked up Chen Guang, and flew forward. Even Lioli said it was something good. Then how bad could it be? However, even though Chen Guang's eyes were wide open, he only felt that the boundless cloud city was empty. As far as the eye could see, there were only 3 statues on the top of the wall that almost reached the horizon. At this time, they were about the size of a mosquito's leg in his eyes. This broken city was 2F** king big and empty. Dang, dang, dang. Do you see it? Are you happy? Do you like it? Chen Guang was held by the collar by Lioli and suspended in midair. He stared at the 3 statues in front of him that couldn't be more familiar. He couldn't even say a word. What a surprise, what a surprise. Then here's the problem. These 3 statues have moved to a new place. To be honest, I don't really understand why you dragged me here to see this strange thing. Lioli threw Chen Guang over hundreds of meters in midair and landed on the top of the alto on his back. Then, she flew over. Take a look at the statues again. Is there anything different about them? Chen Guang narrowed his eyes and observed for a long time. Rubbing the top of the alto with his hands for a long time, he asked suspiciously, are they more textured? I'm so pissed off. Lioli couldn't hold it back anymore. She rushed over and waved her feather robe to strangle his neck. Are you playing dumb in front of me? Can't you tell that it's so obvious? Believe it or not, I will strangle you to death. Chen Guang declared solemnly, I don't believe it. If you strangle me to death, you won't have a savior. Half an hour later, Chen Guang slowly regained his consciousness. Damn it, this person is too crazy. He nearly strangled her to death. When he opened his eyes, she was still standing there with a sneer. You've noticed that you're different now? Chen Guang nodded. Yes, I found it. The power of faith is gone. Lioli finally smiled. At least you have some eyesight. Chen Guang's face darkened. He thought, if it weren't for the fact that I can't beat you, I would definitely strangle you to death. The power of faith was slapped away by you when I leveled up. The white threads that covered the sky and the ground were all gone. How could I not see such an obvious change? But I didn't think it was important. Is this your so-called surprise? Alright, you are the true master of the heavenly Holy Grail. You should be more careful. Close your eyes and use your heart to feel the changes in this statue. Otherwise, I will let you have a taste of the power of the lustrous feather raiment. Damn it. He still remembered how cool the feather robe was when they first met. It looked like a magical armor. It turned out that the power of this thing was that it could strangle people's necks with its water sleeves. Resisting the desire to ridicule in his heart, Chen Guang sat cross-legged on the top of the alto statue and began to feel the changes inside with his eyes closed. Why did he have to sit cross-legged? Because it looked very dignified. After a long time, Chen Guang slowly opened his eyes. He couldn't hide the pleasant surprise on his face. Lioli really didn't lie to him. The benefits of leveling up from seeing spirit sky to one-line sky were not as simple as building an empty city in the sea of clouds. Instead, they were earth-shattering changes. Chapter 443. The benefits that he had yet to experience were the ones that Azure had mentioned long ago. One line of sky could support skills that were stronger than Jianling sky. For example, when he was in Jianling sky, the skills that he learned usually stopped at physical skills, or English, which was a very targeted language. It wasn't easy for him to learn how to play the piano that looked elegant. Even though the statue of a god was right there, he actually didn't have any musical attainments at all. He was just a player that played the piano according to music scores. So far, the most profound skill in Jianling Sky was the game Dota. Dota was also something that required the use of one's brain, but the reason why Chen Guang's Dota level was so high was because he wasn't stupid to begin with, and his gaming talent wasn't bad either. His gaming awareness was constantly strengthened under the strengthening of his memory, and his personal operation also became as swift and precise as a machine under the repetitive and boring training. But after the upgrade, the level of one line of sky became even higher, and it could support some skills that couldn't support before. For example, acting skills that had once caused him so much pain that he wanted to die, and he had to rely on Azure's hypnosis to get through on Big Beard Deng's set, acting skills. At that time, Azure had said that if he wanted to support acting skills in the world in the cup, he needed at least one line of sky. There was no problem now. Of course, if Chen Guang really wanted to learn, he still had to wait for the heavenly Holy Grail to prepare the world in the cup first, and then Azure would inform him one day in advance. During this whole day, he didn't have to be busy with other things. When he was eating, sleeping, and walking, he would have to ponder acting skills in his heart, and he would eventually bump into the world in the cup. Other than that, the Heavenly Holy Grail also specially introduced a custom-made service. If there was a need, after certain conditions were met, he could even activate the special custom-made world in the cup on the spot. Bao Shuang, Bao Chong, Bao Nitian. As long as one line of sky could support it, then he would have it. This was really amazing. For example, when Chen Guang was buying vegetables at the market and haggling with the vegetable seller to no avail, the heavenly Holy Grail would provide a custom-made service. Please give me a world in the cup of bargaining. Then, under the bombardment of the middle-aged woman from the market, Chen Guang could smile domineeringly and coolly, take a sip of tea, and then transform into Bao Longxing in the 9th grade Sesame official played by Stephen Chow. He opened his mouth and spat out countless mysterious codes to blast the middle-aged woman into pieces. Of course, this was definitely overkill, like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. This was just a more vivid example. However, such a domineering special service definitely required a fee, and the fee was not cheap. The so-called fee was reflected in the transformation of the statue. The countless threads of faith power that had been connected to the statue disappeared along with the statue under Lu Li's palm strike. After the wall of Cloud City was rebuilt, the 3 statues reappeared on the platform at the top of the wall, but the power of faith did not recover. At first, Chen Guang didn't pay much attention to this matter. After all, according to what Lu Li said before, the faith power of all the statues was completely fixed when the realm in the cup was perfected. Upgrading from spirit seeing sky to one-line sky, it was reasonable for the faith power to be completely used up. If it was gone, then it was gone. It didn't hurt or itch. But at this moment, under Lu Li's reminder, he sat cross-legged for a long time and found all kinds of strange things. The faith power of the past was indeed gone, and it was replaced by the power of faith. And it was the kind that could be recharged. If he wanted to activate the special function of the Holy Grail, such as custom-made realm in the cup or something else, he had to consume the power of faith. Unlike the power of faith, which was formed in one go when the statue was erected, this power of faith was empty at the beginning. Then, it would be filled up bit by bit and stored in the statue. Once it reached a sufficient amount, it would be able to activate the custom-made world in the cup or other functions. The method to refill the power of faith was also very simple. It was similar to the power of faith, which was to make people continuously worship his skills in a certain aspect. As long as people worship him, there would be an endless supply of faith. For example, the half-alto car in the racing cup had stored about 10,000 units of the power of faith after accumulating for half a day. The power of faith in the piano statue was much less. After all, it was a relatively small thing, and there were only about 500 units of the power of faith stored in it. As for the pencil statue, don't forget about the odd 5 units inside. In addition, the power of faith had another similarity with the power of faith of its predecessor. The stronger the faith, the more abundant the supply of faith. Taking the brainless fan big sister Lu Fei as an example, out of the 1 million units of the power of faith currently collected, Lu Fei alone had provided 20 units. Since the upgrade in the afternoon, Sister Lu Fei's brain had been continuously sending faith to her. High output, high quality, it was just like a Shell gas station. Awesome! The more worship, the greater the output. And it could be continuously recharged. The 10 great car kings who had been defeated by him back then were not that far off. The weakest of them all, the British car king of the rising sun, had sent 2 units each. Damn it, why did that Thai sissy Pan Junyao give 25 units? You're going against the heavens. How is it? The new function of the Holy Grail hasn't disappointed you, right? Are you surprised? Happy? When Chen Guang opened his eyes, Lu Li said with a smile. I'm so happy that I'm going to explode. Boss Guang cried tears of joy. The internet celebrity account he had painstakingly created had not been in vain. In this era of information explosion, what better way to collect faith than to become an internet celebrity and post videos to get clicks? The old man had really planned ahead and predicted the future. Chen Guang, who had hit the jackpot by a fluke, was as happy as a 200-pound child. Speaking of which, let me give you an example. Let's talk about the acting skills of an actor. If I wanted to customize my acting skills once, how much power of faith would I need? Chen Guang was laughing happily. Lu Li calculated with her fingers. I've been watching a lot of television dramas recently. There's an actor overseas called Xiao Li who just won an Oscar, right? Currently, Xiao Li should be one of the best actors in the world, right? Chen Guang nodded. Yes, yes, yes. If I wanted to be as good as Xiao Li, how much power of faith would I need? 6,538,679. Damn it. Do you have to be so precise? I'm talking nonsense. Just consider it as 54 million. No, let's round it up to 6,600,000. Is there a need for that much? I'm really thankful that you didn't round it up to 100 million. Based on my calculations, I've earned about 10,550 yuan in half a day. If my reputation doesn't rise or fall, that's an average of 21,010 yuan per day. It'll take 314 days for me to earn enough for a small plum. Lu Li shrugged. What else can I do? Do you think custom-made services are so common? Under normal circumstances, the world in a cup requires the heavenly holy grail to keep accumulating energy, and I've painstakingly cultivated my divine power. Only when the conditions are met can it be delivered to you. This custom-made world in a cup can be had whenever you want it. Whatever you want to practice, it can be given to you. The energy required is all from faith. You get what you pay for. How can it be cheap? I understand the logic, but my heart still hurts. Chen Guang clutched his chest. Lu Li patted his head. Stop acting cute here. It's useless. That's why I'm urging you to quickly set up a statue. You're not famous enough right now, and you have too few idols. Think about it this way. If you had 3,000 idols right now, and every one of them was as powerful as your broken alto, you could just place them there and earn tens of millions of faith energy a day. How great would that be? Chen Guang nodded. That's true. Then he roared at the sky. My fans. You need to top up your faith. If I don't top up, how am I going to become stronger? Lu Li, speaking of which, the name, power of whatever, is too vulgar. I have a better name. Chen Guang didn't care that Lu Li was about to be shocked by his chinibyu. What is it? Lu Li asked. Chen Guang nodded heavily. Faith. That's right. The focus is on the word value. This way, I can constantly remind myself to think of ways to get my fans to top up their faith. In Lu Li's long divine life, she rarely had the urge to strangle someone, but now she couldn't hold it in any longer. After a long while, she finally suppressed the violent tendencies in her heart. All right, I'll show you the second thing. Chen Guang was amused. There's more. He still didn't know that he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. What's this? I know you like to surf the internet, but you don't have to set up so many monitors, do you? After the two of them landed at the foot of the wall, Chen Guang finally realized that this Yunqing wasn't really empty. Apart from Lu Li's computer, there were other things. There were 9 monitors embedded on the ground at the edge of the city wall. He didn't understand. The heavenly Holy Grail's world in the cup was such a fairy-like place. Lu Li really didn't know how to behave at all. Putting a computer in the middle was fine. She hadn't even had enough fun yet, but she had inexplicably placed 9 monitors on the ground. Wasn't she just trying to scare people? She was pulling down the level. Think again, why don't you look again? Why don't you try pouring some faith points into any of the monitors? Liuli smiled without saying a word. She had an enigmatic look. Chen Guang tried it according to her words and immediately understood the uniqueness of these 9 monitors. This wasn't an ordinary monitor. What was displayed inside was the scene of the world in the cup that he had experienced before. Every scene you see is a ray of information transmitted from the world in the cup. Currently, your level is too low. In order to make it easier for you to understand, I deliberately made it look like a computer monitor. You can just treat it as watching a movie. Actually, these are the plain projections of the world in the cup. But because the world in the cup is currently only at the 2nd level, one-line sky, it is still at the level of a small 2D projection. As the level of the heavenly Holy Grail continues to increase, the planar projection method will also become more and more complete. When it reaches the highest level, the 9 heavens beyond heaven, the planar projection that will appear in this cloud city will be the entire realm in a cup. At that time, for example, the sea of time that you have experienced before, it will turn into a complete miniature plane. You can stand beside the sea of time and casually wave a gust of wind to blow the water's surface in the projection. In the sea of time, there will also be a violent storm. You will be the master of the sea of time. In addition, as long as you have enough energy, you can even enter and exit the world in the cup at will. You can enter and leave as you please. I once told you that there are trillions of cute girls in the 3,000 worlds. It wasn't a lie. Chapter 444. Liuli said so much in one breath and seemed to be a little annoyed. You think about it yourself, I still have to help you increase your points. The Southeast Asian server you have over 10,000 points yourself. I have already given you 8,000 points for the US server. Only the European server is left. After saying that, Liuli was about to leave. Before leaving, she said again, if you are interested, you can stay here and experience this plane projection display for fun. But you have to be careful, connecting to the projection requires faith points. After you have played enough you can go out by yourself. Now you can enter and exit the cup world. Chen Guang waved his hand at Liuli's back. It's okay, you do what you need to do. I will leave after looking at something new. Just now when he sent a little faith points to the first display, what he saw was the first time he experienced the world of transient sea. The image that flashed on the display was that of the Captain Annie that he once yearned for day and night. It was not easy to see her again. How could he just take a look? Was it worthy of the unforgettable memory of hanging on the mast of the Enroyal and being exposed to the sun and wind? Moreover, other than the Enroyal, the other cup worlds were really not worth looking at. Of the 9 cup worlds he had experienced before, only the transient sea could barely be considered a complete world, the others were just playthings, mosaics or small broken ponds. As for those NPCs in the piano world, it was better to save energy. Then why must he wait until Liuli was far away before looking at it? Because Captain Annie was taking a bath. Looking at Captain Annie soaking in the royal bathtub and playing with rose petals, Chen Guang drooled all over the floor. How many times had he been hung on the mast in order to peep at her bathing? Now, not only could the old man look, he could also look openly, he could even zoom in and out, he could even do a close-up. What can you do to me? This was an obsession, this was a nightmare, this was a man's highest pursuit in the transient sea. Blonde hair and blue eyes, Captain Annie was so beautiful, years of practicing swordsmanship made her figure perfect, there was not a single bit of fat on her body. I see it. I see it. Ahahaha. Old Jack, you idiot, you owe me 500 gold berries. Captain has no hair. Wahahaha. Just as Chen Guang was having a good time, a notification sounded in his head. Your faith points are in arrears, please top up, the live broadcast is about to end. Damn it. How long have I been watching it? Watching the transient sea is so expensive. Only then did Chen Guang recall the cost of viewing the Sea of Moments projection. Shortly after, he cursed in his heart. 10,000 faith points per minute. I worked so hard to build 3 statues and only earn a little more than 20,000 a day, but watching it is 10,000 a minute. This poor thing, the cost of spending in the world in cup is so high how can I not be angry? No, it wasn't easy to get a glimpse of the Sea of Moments. I can't just let Captain Annie be the only one to waste it. I casually pull the lens to see if anything happened in the Sea of Moments. The image changed and a large ship suddenly appeared in the vast sea. He quickly pulled closer and looked at the familiar flag on the ship. His face turned pale. The image changed and a large ship suddenly appeared in the vast sea. He quickly pulled closer and looked at the familiar flag on the pirate ship. His face turned pale. There were hundreds of thousands of pirate groups in the transient sea, and every pirate group had their own flag with a skull. The royal end was a skull wearing a crown, and below it were crossed swords and roses. But what kind of pirate crew was this? Why didn't they use a skull? Instead, they used a sketched portrait. That was fine, but why did this sketch look so much like the real person? It only took Chen Guang less than 0.5 seconds to recognize himself. There was nothing he could do about it, since he was too handsome. Even a simple sketch couldn't conceal his handsomeness. Who is the unlucky captain of this ship? This can't be a coincidence. There can't be anyone as handsome as me in the transient sea. I quickly pulled closer. A one-eyed woman was standing on the deck of the pirate ship. She was waving a metal hook in her left hand. Her right leg was also a wooden prosthetic. She shouted, "Our Radiance Pirate Group." Her voice stopped and the image turned black. Your faith is in arrears. The projection stopped. With his mouth widened, Chen Guang formed an O shape. Even if he only looked at that woman for less than a second, he could still recognize her with a single glance. What nonsense! Ling Qin. Why is it Ling Qin? This is the biggest joke in the world. She's playing with me. She only had one eye, one leg, and one arm. Even though she was wearing an eye patch, the hideous centipede scar on her face had long since disappeared, but the mark was still very obvious. Coupled with the sketch of herself wearing a Nike sports cap, the symbol of the pirate group, and the name of the Radiance Pirates. It must be Ling Qin herself. But didn't she die in front of me? How did she run to the transient sea and become a pirate captain? Even with my infinite wisdom, I can't figure out why. Wait, what the hell is this? 1 faith point. Just as his mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts, he saw an extremely weak wisp of faith jump out from the projection screen that had long since turned black. It wobbled as it flew high into the sky, and with a whoosh, it was sucked into the piano god statue. My God, the world in a cup can also produce faith. There's actually another unit. That's not a small amount. Wait, this faith was given by Ling Qin. That's right. Chen Guang confirmed this after communicating with the piano statue. This was too strange. Ling Qin's death was undeniable. Chen Guang had also seen her turn into a box of ashes in the funeral parlor. But now she was still alive, and in his world in a cup. Could it be that the Holy Grail can absorb the souls of those who died around me? Then, the souls of those who died in my hands, such as Shizhou and Xiang Guoming's bodyguards, were absorbed as well. He felt like he was about to turn into 100,000 Ys and was completely confused. He couldn't figure it out, so he hurriedly ran to Lioli to ask what was going on. At this time, her game had just started, and Chen Guang had forgotten about the important matter at hand. Stop messing around. How can this hero play the mid lane? What kind of equipment is this? What kind of teammates do you have? They don't even have chicken dinner when they go out. Shut up. Right, I saw an acquaintance in the transient sea just now. A friend of mine from the real world just passed away. Why did she run to the transient sea and become a pirate captain? What's going on? Lioli waved her hand impatiently. Don't ask me, I'm not a know-it-all. I already said that you're the first person to try out the Holy Grail. You're a lab rat, so anything weird can happen. It's impossible for me to know everything. In the end, Chen Guang was chased out dejectedly. There was nothing he could do about it. However, there was a particularly good thing about his personality. If he encountered a problem that he couldn't figure out and couldn't solve, he would never get stuck in a dead end. If he couldn't get an explanation from Lioli about the Holy Grail, then it was a complete and unsolvable mystery. There was no one else in this world who could guide him. Thus, he simply scrolled through his Weibo, calling it a diversion. After scrolling through his Weibo for a while, the situation on the internet didn't stop. The omnipotent Superman's vetting process was so fast that it made people's hair stand on end. He had just filled in his information not too long ago, and now there was already a big V under his profile picture. From now on, his Weibo account was signed to an independent media, and he would be able to collect a lot of traffic fees every month. There were also people sending him private messages one after another, wanting to discuss the matter of adverts. However, Chen Guang didn't plan to accept them for the time being. In the eyes of others, a Weibo account with tens of millions of fans was already very impressive, but Chen Guang felt that his road to being an internet celebrity had just begun. In order to get more fans to top up their faith, all the Weibo posts in the future had to be made more popular. He couldn't accept advertisements easily, and his Weibo updates had to be of high quality to increase his popularity. Of course, if someone offered $1 million per post, it wasn't impossible to negotiate. Obviously, no one would be so stupid as to spend too much money. Then, he happily looked at the comments under his Weibo and replied. It didn't take long before he was filled with displeasure. Damn it, these grandsons, are they still bothered about the relationship between the old man and Jin Shirue? Aren't you guys tired? Although he said that, when he really thought about it, he felt that something was wrong. At first, Jin Shirue announced her relationship on Weibo to support him. She was worried that if he didn't manage to bring down Su Lijing and Wang Ren, she would get back at him later. So, by tying the two of them together, it was equivalent to a gold medal that would exempt him from death. Although Chen Guang felt very embarrassed, Jin Shirue acted first and reported later, so she didn't give him a chance to reject her good intentions. However, for a popular artist, it was still a huge sacrifice. In particular, Jin Shirue was a youth idol with great potential. To fall in love at the age of 20, this could be said to be a fantasy among female artists. It would definitely have a significant impact on her popularity. It could be seen from the many comments under her Weibo that turned from fans to anti-fans. Now that the matter was over, and she was exposed, would she choose to repost on Weibo to distance herself from the relationship? However, it had only been a few days since she announced her relationship. If she went back on her words immediately, wouldn't it be too childish? It would make people feel that she was treating her fans like fools. Just thinking about the twists and turns in this matter, Chen Guang felt a headache for Jin Shirue. It was the guy who exposed him that caused the situation to become like this. If his identity wasn't confirmed, Jin Shirue's boyfriend with the surname Chin would just be an illusory character, living only in her Weibo. It wouldn't affect her that much. As long as he didn't show up, sooner or later, people would forget about him. In the future, at an appropriate time, she would separate on good terms again, and the matter would be over. However, now that he was exposed, the boyfriend with the surname Chin had changed from a fictional character to a real person. The concept in people's minds was completely different. Chapter 445. Clicking on Jin Shiryue's Weibo, Chen Guang was bored to death as he pressed F5 to refresh the page. He thought to himself, if I were Jin Shiryue, I would definitely come up with an excuse to distance myself from this. For example, I would say that my account was hacked, or that I would release a new song or drama that was relevant to the topic. I would say that I was joking with everyone and that it was actually to promote my new work. Even if people scolded me for being malicious, it was still better than directly admitting my relationship. Similar cases of fake exposure of a relationship to promote a new work were not unheard of. In the past, Jin Shiryue never did such things, but it did not mean that she could not do it. Suddenly, Jin Shiryue's Weibo was updated. I didn't want him to appear in the public eye so soon. He is very low-key, and he is not a rich young master. He is just an ordinary university student. But love has nothing to do with identity, and it does not distinguish between rich and poor. Please do not disturb his life. Thank you. There was a picture attached below, a heart made of 2 hands. She did not deny it, but further admitted it. She did not take advantage of this last opportunity to distance herself from this relationship, and instead made it even more solid. Chen Guang did not give up and refreshed the page twice before he was sure that he did not see wrongly. He quickly switched to Jiang Yage's Weibo. She had also just updated, blessing the Moonlight CP. It was really fun to watch a show. You even gave me and Jin Shiryue the title of Moonlight CP. Speaking of which, I am a man, the word light should be in front, right? But moonlight is indeed more reliable and artistic than light moon. Damn, what time is it now? What am I thinking in my head? Chen Guang covered his forehead, and his mind was in a daze. In the end, he was sinking deeper and deeper. He did not get to eat the meat, but he caused a lot of trouble. Moreover, the other party was helping him out of kindness. Who could he blame? As Jin Shiryue and Jiang Yage's Weibo updated, his Superman's Weibo started to become noisy again. It was not clear whether it was fans or haters, but they were clamoring for him to post something in response. How would Chen Guang dare to reply? Who knew what was waiting for him tomorrow? He made up his mind. Forget it, I don't care about this anymore. I'll make another Dart video to boost my popularity and then go to sleep. Let's talk about it even if the sky falls down. Would becoming famous cost one's life? I don't believe it. He took out the darts he had stolen from Lu Fei's house and poked at Bai Nyangzi's wardrobe. Then, he sent them on the forum with satisfaction. Anyway, he didn't know which grandson had exposed him, so he didn't need to wear a mask and just uploaded it. Looking at Bai Nyangzi's wardrobe full of holes, he felt a little guilty and decided to make it up to him. Below was the caption, "Friends who like to read female-oriented novels, please take note. I have a beautiful author friend who wrote a book called Billionaire Young Master's Venomous Spoiled Little Wife. Please love me 1,001 more times. Don't read it, you will die. Go to bed, sleep, tomorrow is a brand new day." At about 7 in the morning, Chen Guang woke up. It was not that he had slept enough, but it was really noisy downstairs. What kind of people in the world were the most well-informed? What kind of people were the most pervasive? There were 3 kinds of people in total. Entertainment reporters, paparazzi, and veteran paparazzi entertainment reporters. Well, they were all the same kind of people. It had only been one night since his identity had been exposed, and his residence had been discovered. His identity as a third-year student at Wujing University, coupled with such a clear head-on photo without a hat, it would be unprofessional of an entertainment reporter with a keen sense of smell not to dig him out. Of course, it was also Chen Guang's fault for not having enough experience. If it were a veteran in the entertainment industry, it would be impossible for him to continue staying in the school dormitory. He would have run away overnight to who knows where. After being woken up, Chen Guang quietly poked his head out and looked down. His dormitory was on the 5th floor, and he could hear the noise downstairs. Looking and listening, it really made his scalp go numb. I'm going to die. Last night, he had only thought that he might be surrounded by Jean Shiyue's fan club in the morning. In the end, he was wrong. After all, it was summer vacation. For example, there were probably less than 20 students in his dormitory, and there were only a few hundred students in the entire school. The fan club had not been organized, but the more vicious entertainment reporters had appeared. In the past, he always heard how vicious reporters were. That time, he and Jean Shiyue and Jiang Yage hid from the paparazzi at Disneyland, and it was thrilling. But at that time, there was only one paparazzi. Now, there was a dense mass of reporters downstairs, like locusts. I am a reporter from Xinhua Entertainment Weekly. Let me in. We want to interview Chen Guang. This is my reporter's ID. Big sister, please let me in. I gave the chief editor a military order when I left this morning. If I can't interview him, I'll have to pack up and leave. I am a reporter from Dechuan TV station. Interviewing Chen Guang was an order from the station leader. We got permission from the provincial propaganda department. Let us in. All sorts of emotions were stirred up, and the situation was out of control. These were all scourges and ferocious beasts that wanted to eat people alive. I don't care who you want to interview, but this is a school. Inside is the student dormitory. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. All of you stay here. Wait for him to come out. If anyone dares to barge in, I'll call the police. I'll call for help. Why are you all howling so early in the morning? You're disturbing the students' sleep. He never thought that the dormitory lady would actually stand up to them at this time. He saw the burly, fierce-looking dormitory lady with thick eyebrows and big eyes. Her hands were on her hips, and she was holding a broom in her right hand. She looked exactly like the female version of Zhang Fei on Dangyang Bridge. She had the posture of one woman holding the pass, and 10,000 people could not get through. Chen Guang was touched. Big sister, why didn't I realize that you were so fierce in the past? You're really a good person. That's not right. It seems that every time he owed electricity bills, the dormitory lady would act like this. Chen Guang. Chen Guang is coming out. As expected of an entertainment reporter. Chen Guang had only appeared for such a short time, and he was still separated by 5 floors, but he was recognized at a glance. Then, he pointed at his window and shouted. Seeing that the situation was not good, Chen Guang quickly shrank his neck. There was only one thought in his mind, run. He changed his clothes as fast as he could, packed his belongings, and carried his backpack on his back, preparing to escape. Without further ado, he could not stay in this dormitory anymore. He would first go out and hide for a while. As for where to hide, he had not thought of it yet. In short, he would escape as soon as possible. Open the door. Oh my God. Why didn't I see other students coming in and out of the dormitory just now? It seems that these traitors are all extremely treacherous and squatting at the door. Outside the door of the dormitory, there were 17 to 18 people squatting on the stairs. At a glance, there were heads everywhere. At this time, if he could transform into the earth-shaking god ox and use his ultimate skill, he would be able to kill 18 people in 1 second. Chen Guang was a celebrity in the Jinhuan Academy. More than 1,000 boys in the Jinhuan Academy also lived in Dormitory 7. Among the dozens of people blocking the door, most of them were from the same academy, and they all knew each other. When they saw the news last night, they still could not believe that the Chen Guang in the news was really Chen Guang from their academy. After all, they saw each other all the time, and they were very familiar with each other. There were so many reporters this morning, and they had to believe it even if they did not want to. What are you guys doing? Are you going to burn me to death? Chen Guang took a step back and was ready to fight. Oh my God. It's really you. Go Wei, who was standing in the front row, shouted in surprise. During the military training, Chen Guang was in the same class as him, and the two of them had a good relationship. When they bumped into each other in the canteen, they would sit together to eat and talk nonsense. When they beat up Ding Lu's boyfriend, the two dormitories also agreed to beat him up together. No. Chen Guang covered his face. It was useless to explain. F***CKU. Go Wei was the first to shout. Then, a black mass of people rushed in. Of course, when they said they beat him up, it was just a joke. They just felt that it was too unimaginable, too unbelievable. Chen Guang, who always joked and talked nonsense with them, and occasionally played football and games with them, suddenly became Jin Shiyue's boyfriend. It was like a dream. After the crowd messed around with Chen Guang for a long time, they finally settled down. They were envious, they hated, and they were jealous. Among the dozen or so people, there were indeed two hardcore fans of Jin Shiyue. One of them was Go Wei, and the other was a guy majoring in water supply and drainage. He was in the same dormitory as Chen Guang's high school classmate, Deng Haiyang, and they were very familiar with each other. Chen Guang promised two Jin Shiyue autographed CDs to settle the two guys down. Brother Guang, just tell us the truth. We are all on the same side here. I still can't believe it, Go Wei said as he squeezed Chen Guang's hand. Chen Guang pulled his hand back. F***CKU. If you want to talk, just say it. Why are you squeezing my hand? All right, let me show you. I am indeed an omnipotent Superman. After that, he went back to the dormitory and took out a pencil and knife. F***CK. Lei Zun. F***CK Uncle Li. F***CK Uncle Li. Uncle Li, hang in there. The dozen or so people in the dormitory were shocked by his display of power in front of them. I've watched the video many times, but it's not as shocking as your live performance. Oh my God, how do your hands grow? How can they be so flexible? Could it be that goddess Jean fancies you because of your god's finger? Go Wei started to grope Chen Guang's hand with a wretched expression. He was even targeting Chen Guang's middle finger. A few of the guys who were close to him also came up to him, wanting to touch his hand. No matter how slow Chen Guang's reaction was, how could he not know what these guys were thinking? These bastards were too wretched. All of them were thinking that touching his hand was equivalent to taking advantage of Jin Shiyue. Especially Go Wei, who looked like he wanted to suck my middle finger in his mouth. Luckily, I have never touched Jin Shiyue before, or I would have been at a disadvantage. He sent them flying with a single kick. There's a change in his faith. There was a sudden movement from the pencil god statue in Yunqing, and it instantly increased by 3 points. Normally, the pencil god statue could only produce 10 pieces a day. The sudden increase of 3 was too obvious. Chapter 446. Chen Guang was speechless as he looked at the bunch of grandsons in front of him. However, his heart was blooming with joy. The effect of showing off his godly skills in front of everyone was too outstanding. That's right, the technique of sharpening pencils was actually useless. However, this didn't stop others from worshipping him. After showing off his prowess in front of them, in their hearts, he would definitely be the strongest pencil sharpener in the world. At the very least, when it came to sharpening pencils, they would become his fanatical fans. His heart was aching. Why didn't he have a statue of a god in picking up girls? If not, just because of his girlfriend, Jean Shirue, and the fact that countless people worshipped his godly skill in picking up girls, he would be able to earn a few thousand points of faith in a day. Forget it, don't bother about the details. After discovering this benefit, the way Chen Guang looked at the bunch of people in front of him changed. It was very gentle and amiable. They weren't humans, but walking faith. However, Go Wei, who was a brainless fan of Jean Shirue, still found the main point. He pulled Chen Guang to ask if Jean Shirue was talking about him and if it was true. Chen Guang habitually denied, "No, there's no such thing." In the end, not a single one of them believed him. They all felt that he was talking nonsense. Think about it. Although I'm an internet celebrity now, that's Jean Shirue. She and I are worlds apart. How could she like me? Although she said it with the surname Chin, there are so many people with the surname Chin in the world. Why did it have to be me? That post that exposed my past was not wrong, but the person Jean Shirue likes is really not me, Chen Guang. She even talked about the light in my life. Isn't that a normal confession joke? It's very touching. The light in her life is me, Chen Guang. I want to, but I'm not good enough for her, okay? Chen Guang was also having a headache. To his own people, he could tell them the cause and effect of Wang Ren and Su Lijing's involvement, and others would believe it. However, most of the people in the dormitory were not that close. The matter between Wang Ren and Su Lijing was too big, and it couldn't be mentioned again. If it was spread out, it would cause a lot of trouble. This was also something that Wu Shan had specifically instructed. Without Su Lijing as a shield and a reason, his quibbling seemed very weak and unconvincing. He could only use the difference in status between him and Jean Shirue as an excuse. Go Wei still looked at Chen Guang skeptically. Chen Guang thought to himself, if it wasn't for the fact that you're constantly sending me letters, I would definitely beat you up. Go Wei added, that makes sense, but I also think that the goddess is right. Love had nothing to do with one's status or status. If it were any other celebrity, I definitely wouldn't believe it. But if it's our Shirue, I think she's the kind of pure girl who pursues true love. She's the most pure girl in the world. The love she wants is real love. Chen Guang's mouth formed an O shape. The world of diehard fans was really scary. I can't lend a statue to Jean Shirue to collect faith points. I'm really sorry. Just based on your love-struck expression, you alone should be worth hundreds of faith points, right? My heart hurts, it's wasted just like that. Chen Guang looked at Go Wei's forehead, his eyes shining. He felt as if he was looking at a mountain of gold and silver but couldn't bring it home. At this moment, another diehard fan of Jean Shirue snorted, "Brother Guang, I almost believed you." As he said that, he took out his phone and placed it in front of Chen Guang. A minute ago, Goddess Shirue just posted on Weibo. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is not to open my eyes, but to miss you in my heart. I love you, Chen Guang. I fell asleep listening to your piano last night and had a good sleep. When are you going to play a song for me? My dear light kiss. Actually, the one who posted this was not Jean Shirue, but Jiang Yage. The one who announced their relationship was Jean Shirue, not her, Jiang Yage. She had 1,000 feelings in her heart but nowhere to express them, so she used Jean Shirue's account to post it. Others might not understand, but Jiang Yage knew that when Chen Guang saw the "My dear light" and "kiss," he would definitely understand that it was her, Jiang Yage, who said it. But others didn't see it that way. Far away in Beijing's Villa District, Jean Shirue and Jiang Yage were already in bed, laughing and fooling around. In Wujing, Chen Guang was also completely dumbfounded under the gaze of dozens of pairs of eyes. He swallowed his saliva. This Chen Guang, isn't he, Jiang Yage, you did it on purpose, right? You must have a grudge against me. That's right, Chen Guang knew that it was Jiang Yage who posted the Weibo, but he wasn't moved at all. He only wanted to drown her with his saliva. You're still quibbling. I was there when you wore a mask and played the piano at Wujing Art Center that day. You hit it so deeply, really deeply, so deeply that I can't see the bottom. Go Wei wailed at the top of his lungs as he tugged at his hand. Another die-hard fan of Jin Shirihua also broke down. How did you get her? Goddess Shirihua has never said such things before. What have you turned our goddess into? Speak. Leniency if you confess. Resistance will be severe. If you don't tell the truth, I'll post this photo. Go Wei took out his phone and placed it in front of Chen Guang. F***CK. You actually took a photo of me sleeping during the military training. Looking at the photo on Go Wei's phone, where he was sprawled out on the lower bunk, wearing only his briefs, Chen Guang's face turned green. It seemed like he had to tell the truth. He straightened his expression and became unprecedentedly serious. You might not believe it, but Jin Shirihua was the one who made the first move. Oh no, the first confession. I see. No wonder, normal people can't reject her. Goddess Shirihua is really a good woman that you won't be able to find even if you had a lantern. You've really hit the jackpot. Hey! You guys believed it just like that. Goddess. She's indeed our goddess. Courageous love, pure love, bold love. He would never be pretentious, nor would he be timid. She doesn't care if you're rich or poor, or ugly, or even if you're just a student. She says she loves you, and she loves you. I want to be a fan of this kind of Jin Shirihua too. In the end, Chen Guang was still defeated by this group of people. Alright, quiet down. I wanted to run earlier, and you guys wasted more than 10 minutes. There are even more reporters downstairs. Now tell me, what should I do? I have to run. Don't. Tell us how far the two of you have progressed. Go Wei still didn't give up. Save it. How can I tell you such a private matter? If I say that we're only in a platonic relationship, and that I haven't touched her hand until now, would you believe me? Yes. We believe everything Jin Shiryua's boyfriend says. But when you were saving people in the lake, didn't you touch her? Hi. Don't mention it. I was scared out of my wits at that time. How could I care about touching anything? I'm such an upright person. My mind would never have such dirty thoughts. Chen Guang didn't need to prepare a script to lie. In fact, his ripped briefs were about to burst. In the end, he successfully escaped with the help of this group of people. The method was simple. There was only one entrance to the dormitory, but one of his buddy's dormitory rooms was on the second floor behind the dormitory. He quietly ran over there, hung a bedsheet, and went downstairs. Before the entertainment reporters at the main entrance could react, he ran to the parking lot and drove straight to Zhuo Jingxi's house. He called Fan Lingshan and went to Lilai County. He didn't know where else to go, so he decided to go back to his hometown. It had been a few days since he recognized Fan Lingshan as his sister. Now that he was done with his business, it was time to bring her back to his hometown. Chen Guang had already told his parents about this, and Chen Guoli and Feng Rong agreed without hesitation. Lingshan's mother had passed away, and the relatives of the Fan family were all like that. Lingshan's father couldn't protect her, and Fan Lingshan wasn't related to the Fan family at all. If she continued to stay in the Fan family, it would be like throwing a little lamb into a pack of wolves. Unfortunately, no one knew where Lingshan's mother's maiden home was, and there was no place for her to stay. Fan Lingshan was now a complete orphan. Although she was strong enough, who would like to live alone in the world? Now, Lingshan's mother's kidney was still in Feng Rong's body. No matter how much money was given, the Qin family would remember the kindness. Chen Guang remembered the kindness, and so did Chen Guli and Feng Rong. Feng Rong, in particular, had always been thinking about her daughter who had passed away. Now, she felt that she had the responsibility and obligation to take over the position of Lingshan's mother and acknowledge this daughter. No one had any qualms about it. Therefore, when Chen Guang received Fan Lingshan's call, Chen Guli and Feng Rong were immediately distressed after hearing about Fan Lingshan's situation. They repeatedly urged Chen Guang to bring Lingshan home as soon as possible. Therefore, Chen Guang wasn't casually acknowledging Fan Lingshan as his sister. He sincerely wanted to find a new home for Fan Lingshan. In the future, everyone would be a real family, and not some random god-sister. Along the way, Chen Guang excitedly told Fan Lingshan about his family. He didn't talk about his parents, but mainly talked about his uncle, aunt, and so on. Unlike Fan Lingshan's relatives, Chen Guang's parents and siblings had helped each other all these years, and their relationship was very good. In the early years, when Chen Guang's family was prosperous, it was Chen Guli who helped everyone, and the siblings of the Qin family and the Feng family could be considered a local prominent family. In the past year, Chen Guang's family had fallen, and most of the medical expenses were supported by his uncles, and aunts. Fan Lingshan listened enviously. "Brother, your family is so nice." Chen Guang laughed and patted Fan Lingshan's leg. "What do you mean my family is nice? They're also your family. You'll know when you get back. A whole family is waiting to see you." Fan Lingshan wasn't as excited as he imagined, and he didn't know what she was worried about. Chen Guang thought she was shy and introverted, so he said, "Lingshan, remember this. As your brother, I'll tell you again. You're my biological sister, and your people are also my family. You have 4 million. Let's not talk about going to university. When you get married in the future, I'll make the decision. I'll buy you a house and a car. Actually, I should have a sister, but she passed away early. My parents have always wanted a daughter. I won't say anything, and I'll treat you as a family in the future. You're a family with us." Chen Guang wasn't afraid of being mushy when he said this, because he really thought so in his heart. He didn't have a biological sister, but the feeling of having a biological sister was really good. Fan Lingshan was a little touched, and her eyes turned red. Brother. That's right." Chen Guang's eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled and continued, "Let me tell you a secret. When I left school in the morning, I told my dad that all our relatives will be here when we reach our hometown. Everyone wants to see you." "Aw. So many people." Fan Lingshan's eyes were no longer red, but her face turned red again. "Of course, this is a big matter." Chapter 447. At this time, Lalai County was also very lively. The Qin family, which had been down and out for more than a year, had finally swept away their bad luck in the past 2 months. Chen Guli had been delaying the payment. Although he felt comfortable, he couldn't help but feel restrained. Recently, because of Su Lijing, Chen Guli simply sold the money. Although it hurt, he was in a good mood. He was free from debt, which was also very comfortable. Now, the family was going to suck up to another person, which was double happiness. Although she was his daughter, Chen Guli and Feng Rong had met Fan Lingshan many times in the hospital. They knew about her background and liked this well-behaved girl from the bottom of their hearts. In addition, there was another happiness, but Chen Guli didn't tell Chen Guang. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that Zhu Jifa and his son firmly disagreed. According to Chen Guang's original intention, when he gave the money to Zhu Jifa, he didn't think about the interest. He didn't even think about asking Zhu Jifa for it. This was his kind intention. Zhu Jifa pinched his nose and accepted it, but when he thought about it later, he felt like there was a fishbone stuck in his throat and it was hard to swallow. Ever since we were young, I've always been the one to protect you. Suddenly, I owe you so much. My heart feels so bad. Although our relationship is better than blood brothers, I can't take advantage of you like this. After getting to know Lu Fei, Zhong Bai, and the others, not only did the new production line start, but there were also a lot of orders. The 2 lines were too busy. The factory's efficiency was getting better day by day. Not long after, it was on the 3rd line, but it was still too busy. Zhu Jifa's heart was even more unbearable. His father also found out that there was an extra 10 million in the factory and forced Zhu Jifa to ask where the money came from. Old Zhu told him everything, and then old Zhu slammed the table in front of Zhu Jifa. You can't do business like this, and you can't be like this as a person. Chen Guang found the order for you, Chen Guang helped you settle the loan, and Chen Guang lent you 10 million in cash without interest. How can you be so shameless as to accept all of it? No matter what you think, old Zhu can't afford to lose my face in the county. People always point at my back and say that I've taken advantage of old Chen. Zhu Jifa had a bitter face. It's not that I don't want to give him shares, but he doesn't want it. Are you stupid? Can't give it to his father if he doesn't want it. Thus, old man Zhu and Zhu Jifa went to Chen Guli's house. The father and son forced Chen Guli to sign the contract and transfer 40% of the printing factory's shares to Chen Guli. At first, the father and son of the Zhu family even wanted to transfer 50%, but Chen Guli also refused to do so. In fact, people in Chen Guli's small circle were like this. They valued loyalty very much. It didn't matter how much money they made, but they couldn't lack the word loyalty when they conducted themselves in society. So when the Qin family's hot pot restaurant got into trouble, the huge hole caused by the poisoning of so many people was forcefully covered. Even the court had their own people, or else they wouldn't have kept on refusing to pay the debt. If it wasn't for Su Lijing's direct pressure from the city, Chen Guli wouldn't have paid the money because he didn't want to cause trouble for his old buddies in the court. If he wanted to mess with the Qin family, he had to ask old Zhu, old Zhou, old Tang, and old Luo. Now, Chen Guli was still working at old Zhou's hot pot restaurant, but on the other hand, he had become a major shareholder of the Zhu family's printing factory. The Qin family had prospered again. Now that the Qin family was going to recognize their daughter, this was considered a major event in the small circle of Lilai County. Chen Guang was still thinking about his relatives, but he didn't know that his father's friends had already set up nearly 100 tables at noon. Usually, a family's wedding banquet wasn't this lively. At 10:30 in the afternoon, Chen Guang and Fan Lingshan finally arrived at the county town. They didn't go home, but went straight to the restaurant. Looking at the large crowd waiting at the entrance of the restaurant, Chen Guang and Fan Lingshan introduced them one by one. You've met my parents before. This is second uncle, this is third aunt, this is Uncle Zhou, this is Uncle Zhu, this is my best friend Zhu Jifa, and this is my classmate Dang Haiyang. Fan Lingshan's heart was so warm that it felt like she had crawled into a hot bed in the 12th month of the lunar calendar. Her tears immediately flowed. What a poor child. Feng Rong, Chen Guang's aunts, and other female elders all sobbed. After a while, Fan Lingshan was pulled away by Feng Rong and a group of female comrades to change clothes. It was said that these aunts had bought a set of clothes for Fan Lingshan. It was estimated that after she tried on each set, she would be able to make it in time for supper. As for Chen Guang, he was quietly pulled aside by Chen Guli. He had no choice but to do so. In just a few minutes of meeting, at least 100 people came up to ask Chen Guang and Jin Shuiwe what was going on. Logically speaking, these relatives and friends in the county town shouldn't be so concerned about celebrity gossip, especially these elders. They were too busy with the bloody games at the mahjong table all day long. Chenguli and Feng Rong had heard his explanation and were well aware of it, but the others didn't. "Dad, what do you think I should do? Everyone is asking me now. I have nowhere to hide. Why do you think these people are all so gossipy?" Chenguli chuckled. "Of course, my son is very capable. He can even chase after a celebrity." "Why do I feel that your pronunciation of the word capable is not quite right?" Chenguli patted Chen Guang's shoulder. "I called Dr. Tang a few days ago. She said that you have recovered from your illness. You are very capable." All right. After dinner, I'll take Ling Shan around the county town and then go back to Wujing. I'm having a headache now. Even if I escape from school today, I won't be able to live in peace in my hometown. The world is so big, and there's nowhere to hide. You can do whatever you want. Ling Shan is really pretty. I like her just by looking at her. You're a smart kid. Why did you think of taking her as your sister and bringing her back? Picking up a daughter for free, and I don't even need to raise her. I, Chenguli, have struck it rich. Chenguli brought up Fan Lingshan again. I say, kid, don't tell me you have some ulterior motives. That officer Wu who took you as her sister, I always feel that there's something wrong with the way she looks at you. And that classmate of yours, Sun Xiaoxuan. The more people there are, the better. Oh, and Jiang Yage. Chenguli brought up a few names in a row. Chen Guang's face darkened. What are you talking about? Chenguli continued, Oh, isn't your cousin studying in Germany? What did he say in the WeChat group yesterday? Sister Cheong. If you have a younger sister, you will hate your younger sister. If you don't have a younger sister, you will hate your younger sister. He even said that he had already registered you at the German orthopedics department. I talked to him for a long time, saying that the person's name is Ling Shan, not Cheong, but he still insisted on it. Is there an allusion to the name Sister Cheong? F***ck. You're my biological father. My cousin is also my biological cousin. We're really a family made in heaven. Chen Guang ground his teeth so hard that they creaked. Don't come back to China if you have the guts, or else I'll beat you up so badly that even my cousin won't be able to recognize you. Alright, anyway, I always feel that you're a womanizer. Although I'm very happy and proud to see my son so popular, you have to take it easy. Alright, I'll be careful. Chen Guang knew that he and his father couldn't explain, and it would only make things worse. Chenguli patted Chen Guang's shoulder again. Actually, I don't really care. You're not a child anymore, anyway, so I can't control you. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. I can understand that there are many people who like you. After all, when I was young, I was a famous handsome man in the county. The number of people chasing after me added up could form a line from the street to the end of East Street. Chen Guang, biological father. It's really my biological father. After dealing with his father, he still had to go back to see the others. As expected, they all rushed up to him one by one, either praising or asking questions. Little Guang, is the matter between you and Jean Shirihua true? I heard that celebrities have quite a temper. Are you getting along well with her? Brother Guang, Brother Shirihua, can you help me get an autograph from Sister Shirihua? Chen Guang was put in a difficult situation. It was Chenguli who saw that he was about to have a headache, and hurriedly rushed up and shouted, You elders better restrain yourselves. This matter is not even confirmed yet. What kind of status does she have? Why are we making such a big fuss over here? If this spreads to the ears of others, they'll think that our Chen family is rushing to get close to her. Young people shouldn't ask so much. If it's really like this, it'll be ruined if we keep publicizing it. With Chen Guoli's outburst, Chen Guang was finally relieved. Zhu Jifa and his high school classmates were much easier to deal with. Chen Guang only laughed it off for a while. In any case, he would never tell the truth even if he was beaten to death. Naturally, it was a good lunch, but there was an unexpected surprise. Halfway through the meal, someone made a fuss, saying that Chen Guang was quite popular on the internet and was called something like an almighty Superman. They asked him to go up and perform for everyone. Chen Guang didn't think too much about it. He picked up the pencil and went up the stage, causing a wave of cheers. In the end, not long after, he discovered that the god statue's faith value increased again. At this rate, it would increase by several tens of faith value a day. Including the 3 units of production earned from Go Wei and the others in the morning, in just one day, the GDP of the most useless god statue of sharpening pencils actually increased by 7 times. It reached 70 units in a day. Alright, this still couldn't compare to the god statue of Alto's 20,000 production per day. But an increase was a good thing, and he could see the dawn of victory. Moreover, this little increase in faith value was not the biggest gain. Instead, he discovered a trick. The most useless god statue of sharpening pencils had actually become the best entry point for him to increase his current faith value production. That's right, the lower the starting point, the greater the potential. He also discovered a problem. Why did the faith value of sharpening pencils increase so quickly? This was because the skill was really good. It was amazing, and no one deliberately practiced it. Even if others practiced it, they wouldn't be able to reach this level. Others only needed to see it once to understand in their hearts that he was the strongest in history. There was no suspense. Chapter 448. However, the piano was different. It was said that there was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. When it came to piano playing skills, other people's views were never objective. Subjective consciousness dominated, and there had always been arguments about who was the best. It was the same logic as writing an essay. Through several videos and live broadcasts, many people had already admired his skills. During the period when he was playing, people who watched his live broadcasts or videos might think that he was the best in history and that he had successfully built a statue of a god. However, after a while, they would gradually forget about him. However, it was difficult for people to worship him like they worshipped the god of racing. After all, the god of racing's racing record was there for all to see. No one could surpass it. As for piano skills, there was no quantitative assessment standard. Looking at the countless people applauding and joining in the fun, Chen Guang made up his mind. Before he built a statue of a god, he would focus on sharpening pencils. Someday, if he had the opportunity to go on TV or participate in a talent show, he might as well try it live on TV. Originally, he planned to keep Fan Lingshan in Lulai. However, although Fan Lingshan had recognized him as her family, they were still unfamiliar with each other. If Chen Guang wanted to leave, how could she be willing to stay in Lulai? Her reason was also very good. She wanted to restudy for her 3rd year of high school and take the college entrance examination at Gokyo University next year. She had already enrolled in a cram school in Wujing, so she had to go back to class. Our high school is also very good. When I was studying at this school, I easily got in, said Chen Guang. Fan Lingshan firmly refused. Teacher Zhuo said that her uncle teaches at 7th high school. When school starts, I can go to 7th high school to listen in. Okay, you win. 7th high school is very strong. Chen Guang burst into tears. My good sister, why don't you understand your brother's thoughts? In fact, I just want you to stay at home so that I can go back and spend time with Teacher Joie. No, I must rent the room opposite Teacher Joie's door and let Ling Shan live there. That way, I can steal her scent at night. All right, let's go back together. Chen Guang had no choice but to accept his fate. After waving goodbye to his parents, relatives, and friends, Chen Guang started the car and drove out. When he passed by a building, he stopped and pointed to the hot pot restaurant on the second floor, saying, "Ling Shan, this restaurant used to be called Guoguang Bang Bang Xiang. It's our family's hot pot city. Then let's go and take a look." "No, this shop belongs to someone else now. I just thought of some unhappy things. Actually, I just don't want Dad to work so hard anymore. Otherwise, I would have bought it back." It had been a year since the incident. Whether it was Chen Guang, Chen Guli, or even the local police officers in Lilai County, they still had no clue about the food poisoning case. Everyone knew that Chen Guli was reliable and it was impossible for there to be any problems with the ingredients. It was a case of food poisoning. Even if Yuan Fong did not look at it, there must be something fishy about it. How could he handle it? He could not catch the culprit. The incident happened in his own hot pot restaurant, and the signs of poisoning were so similar to food poisoning. Other than the Chin family taking the blame themselves, there was nothing they could do. "Brother, don't be sad. Heaven's net has a long way to go. The truth will come to light sooner or later," Fan Lingshan comforted him. Chen Guang nodded. "Of course, I'm not in a hurry. I don't really need that money now. I'm just a little unhappy thinking about how my family was tricked so badly for no reason." His confidence was not without reason. Now that the heavenly Holy Grail had been upgraded to the second level, there was still a long way to go. When the old man completed the 3,000 worlds and became the true master of the Holy Grail, a godlike existence, he could dig you out with just a thought, okay? It's never too late for a villain to take revenge. I, Master Guang, am more vengeful than a villain. Don't let me catch you. When he returned to Wujing, it was really a coincidence. The tenant of the house opposite Zhuo Jingxi's was just about to leave, and the landlord brought an agent over to look at the house. Chen Guang decided to rent it on the spot. Firstly, he would definitely not be able to return to school in the near future. Secondly, of course, he wanted Lingshan to stay with him. At night, he could go knock on Zhuo Jingxi's door. That's good too. Chen Guang, you can stay opposite the house alone. Lingshan and I will stay together. You don't have to go out to eat. Zhuo Jingxi happily made the decision. Ha! Chen Guang was dumbfounded. After so long, it still didn't work out. This was different from what he wanted. Suddenly moving to a new house, and renting someone else's house at that, there was naturally a lot of work to do. Chen Guang did not have much experience in this aspect. After helping out for half a day, he kicked Zhuo Jingxi and Fan Lingshan into the internet cafe in the school square. Great, the two of you are full of energy. I'm happy to be a hands-off boss. Chen Guang happily entered the internet cafe. He was a frequent visitor here. He and Wen had stirred up a lot of bloodshed here for a long time. When Wu Tong got into trouble, Sun Xiaoxuan and the rest of the class had to hide in this place. But this time, as soon as he entered the door, he realized something was wrong. Look, what did I see? It was a picture of the old man sitting on a booth in the internet cafe, rubbing his sword tower. F***CK. He did not know which wicked grandson took this picture. At that time, he had not obtained the Holy Grail yet. He was a proper burden. He took a picture of the wicked grandson from the side. He was busy working while sweating profusely, and this wicked grandson even took a picture of his computer screen. 0 kills, 33 deaths, 0 assists. I was F*King endorsed. So be it. Why did you have to post my terrible battle record? Aren't you trying to embarrass this old man by doing this? You guys didn't take pictures of the few times I became a god. The caption below said, Shuryue Goddess's boyfriend, Chen Guang, is a platinum member of the internet cafe. Come and play games with the goddess's boyfriend. Apply for a membership card now. 20% off. Get drinks. Brother Chen Guang. The staff recognized him at a glance. Chen Guang's face darkened. He pointed at the poster that took up almost half the wall. What's going on? Seeing that Chen Guang's expression didn't look good, the manager was terrified. He was afraid that Chen Guang would call the female Tyrannosaurus Wenwen over again. He broke out in a cold sweat. Boss. Boss asked me to do this. Brother Chen Guang, I'm really sorry. We all thought you wouldn't come again. This is really... I'll call the boss over immediately. I can't take the blame for this. In less than 30 seconds, the boss, who was sitting in his booth playing with others, ran over. Brother Guang, look at what I've done. If you have any complaints, I'll tear it down immediately. I didn't tell you, so I violated your portrait rights. I did something stupid. I was wrong. Please be magnanimous and let me go. Considering that you and Miss Wen have smashed our door so many times over the years. F***CK. 0 kills, 33 deaths, and 0 assists. I can't take it. This game is a stain on my life. F***CK, why did you guys only take this game? Aw. Look, we've won 38-44. I've taken 33 out of 38 kills by myself. No, we can't be friends anymore. There's no place for you in the internet cafe world anymore. I have 99 ways to destroy your internet cafe. The boss and the staff were stunned. You don't care about the image rights, but the 0 kills, 33 deaths, and 0 assists. Don't. Brother, I was wrong. The owner of the internet cafe had also watched the live broadcast of the public trial. Someone who could defeat Su Lijing in front of the whole nation had 99 ways to deal with the owner of the internet cafe. You can't blame me for this. I don't have any other suitable photos. These photos weren't taken by me. They were taken by him. The boss decisively betrayed the staff. The staff had a long face. Boss, you can't be like this. You can't blame me for this. Brother Guang, you were too focused on your game. You don't know how lively the internet cafe was when you got those numbers. I just took a photo and used it. Chen Guang's face darkened. A stain on his life. This was definitely a huge stain on his life. An unforgivable stain on his life. He vaguely remembered that he was in a terrible fix at that time. He had sunk into desolation and was unable to extricate himself. If he had known that there were so many scumbags standing behind him to watch the fun, he would have definitely thrown the machine down and run away. No, I have to redeem my reputation. Otherwise, this stain will grow all the way to my god statue. He thought of the free faith points he got when he performed his pencil sharpening skills in the hall of his hometown. An idea popped into his mind. Anyway, he was famous now. Why was he still hiding it? Why not just do a live stream in the internet cafe? I'm also streaming on the live streaming platform. I'm now the first godly player in the Chinese server. If the young lads in this internet cafe and the viewers watching the live stream can witness me surging to the top 10 in the Southeast Asia server, the European server, and the American server at the same time, I'll be able to gather a whole bunch of fanatical fans if they see me surging to the top 10 in the Southeast Asia server, the European server, and the American server. There were more people who liked games than racing. The most important thing was that the viewers who liked games were more likely to get carried away. There was a higher chance of producing fanatical fans like Lu Fei. Any retired professional gamer or second-tier streamer could become a fanatic fan demon. Those female fans would even sacrifice themselves. How fanatical. With the old man's invincible skills, it wouldn't be hard for him to get some die-hard fans, right? One Lu Fei was worth 20 faith points. If he could get 10,000 fanatical fans through live streaming, he would immediately earn 200,000 faith points a day. There were also those ordinary fans, passers-by fans, and leftover fans with a hint of black in the middle and a hint of black in the middle. The GDP of this statue of God was going to skyrocket. There was no need to explain how it would beat Otto's God statue. Although it might be difficult, how would he know if he didn't try? Forget it, the old man was going to be rich. I've decided. I'll stay in this internet cafe to get more points. Live stream to get more points. The hundreds of people in this internet cafe were the first batch of fans of Master Guang. Once my God statue is built, none of you are allowed to leave without at least 17 to 18 faith points. Even if you beat them up, you will get more than 10 faith points. Do you see my fist that's as big as a clay pot? Don't you worship me? First, ask if my fist agrees or not. The other thing was the live stream viewers. Their personal goals were as follows: when the God statue is built, there will be at least 5,000 fanatical fans. 100,000 normal fans. It was decided just like that. Alright, he was actually a little sad. If he had known this earlier, he would have joined the League of Legends Cup. Although he was a relic of Sword Tower and a super loyal fan, he couldn't deny the fact that there were more League of Legends players. Forget it, let's not think about this for now. I'll focus on what's in front of me first. Once I've decided, I'll start. Chapter 449. At this time, the hegemon of picking up girls, the model of a loser's counterattack, Lord Qinguang's presence in the internet cafe was gradually becoming a hot topic. No one cared about who Qinguang was, but the identity of Jin Shiyue's boyfriend was a big deal. Many people stood up from their seats and craned their necks to look at the door in the short amount of time he had taken to clean up the internet bar's owner and young man. Those who were in the game could only look. After all, the sky could collapse and the earth could split, but they couldn't just stand by in a group battle. But those who were in the middle of matchmaking or doing something else simply stood up and surrounded the door. "You're Qinguang." A young man who didn't know how powerful he was came over angrily. F***CKU. I've been a loyal fan for 10 years. I grew up watching the two goddesses dramas. You've tarnished my goddess. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? How are you worthy of Jin Shiyue? I'll beat you up. The internet cafe owner was shocked. Something bad was going to happen. Qinguang looked up at him. I'm Qinguang. What are you going to do about it? Come on, don't just talk. Let's have a spar. If someone else had a better attitude, he might have had the heart to explain or deny it. But wasn't his mouth too cheap? What do you mean I've tarnished Jin Shiyue? What do you mean I'm not worthy of her? I can say such things myself. I can even joke around with people who are close to me. I'm not even close to you, and you're already scolding me the moment we meet. Isn't that too much? Qinguang only needed 5 seconds and a can of cola on the counter to deal with Jin Shiyue's irrational fan. Of course, he didn't bribe him with a can of cola. Instead, he squeezed the can of cola in his hand. 5 seconds later, the unopened can of cola was crushed by his monstrous strength. Chen Guang's left and right-hand fanatic who was scolding Chen Guang with all his might and was about to call for people to beat him up was stunned. The owner of the internet cafe, who was about to call for help, was also dumbfounded. Chen Guang gently placed his left hand on the solid wood counter of the internet cafe and looked at him from the corner of his eyes. I've always had a principle. When I can use my hands, I won't use my mouth. If you're interested, go ask around about me, Chen Guang's reputation in Wenqing town. Have Brother Scar and Glasses Wu come out yet? How have you been lately? The two of them definitely know what kind of person I am. They just came out a few days ago. Speaking of which, it's strange. Everyone's guessing how they got in. The two of them had only been out for 2 days when they teamed up and went out of town. They said they didn't want to mingle in the underworld anymore and ran off to work for someone. Chen Guang grinned. It doesn't matter if I tell you. I was the one who did it. More than a dozen people wanted to ambush me after receiving money. I knocked them all down on the ground, and then I sent them to the police station. It's that simple. So your fists are that hard. You defeated more than a dozen people by yourself. Use your brain and think about it. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't want to bring trouble to Jin Shiyue, I'd break your legs right now and throw you into the police station. Since you're already causing trouble for me, I won't deny it. So what if I hit on your goddess? You don't like it? Do you think I'm someone you can trample on? Oh right, it's you, the one who took a picture of me with your phone. Post my words online. Chen Guang pointed at a person who was hiding behind the crowd and secretly taking a picture of him with his phone. That person wanted to hide immediately, but Chen Guang went up and grabbed him. Stop hiding. I purposely let you take a picture of me. He didn't want to be famous before. He didn't want to be associated with Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's name because he was afraid that these things would annoy him. Today, he had been hiding since early in the morning. Now that it was almost evening, he still couldn't settle down. He was extremely annoyed. Can't we just live happily? Isn't it just Jin Shiyue's boyfriend? Everyone comes up to me and tries to take advantage of me. Can't you be a little more reasonable? Let's not talk about whether it's true or not. Even if it's true, you can't be like this. Even a clay figurine has its limits. This is too much. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Chen Guang was also furious. Don't you all hate me for hitting on Jin Shiyue? Don't you all think that I'm not worthy of her? Although there's nothing between us, I have no choice but to bite the bullet and go against her. Previously, he had been unwilling to admit to it. On one hand, he really didn't want to be involved in the lives of celebrities. On the other hand, he felt that no matter what Jin Shiyue said, it would be convenient for her to renege on the debt. But if he admitted to it, then the matter would be completely real. But he couldn't handle Jin Shiyue's second confession on Weibo. It was another affectionate show of affection early in the morning. I'm trying my best to act shamelessly to suppress the matter and let your fans forget about it. But you keep jumping into the fire pit step by step. Our thoughts aren't the same. Now that I can't continue acting shamelessly, I might as well admit to it. I'll see what you all want. If you have the ability, come and tear me apart. Come, point the camera at me. I'll say a few words later. Help me post it online. Chen Guang patted the guy who was taking a picture secretly. His legs were trembling from the nervousness. The guy slowly reacted. Could it be that this person wants to use me to do an online press conference? That's great. I'll be able to bask in his glory and become famous. Oh, wait. Let me make a call first. After all, this wasn't just his own matter. After making this decision, he had to inform Jin Shirue again and see what she had to say. In front of everyone, the call went through. There were people coming and going on Jin Shirue's side. It seemed to be very lively. It sounded like she was on a film set. Jin Shirue, I. Chen Guang opened his mouth and planned to get straight to the point. Still calling me by my name. Call me Shirue. I'm your girlfriend now. Jin Shirue chuckled on the phone. Although the people in the internet cafe were shocked by the coke explosion, they couldn't hold back their curiosity. All of them moved their heads very close. With Chen Guang's neck as the center, they almost formed a mountain of human heads. This time, when Jin Shirue's extremely coquettish voice came through the phone, the people who were eavesdropping at the side all felt their legs go soft. Hey! You! Chen Guang was dumbfounded. I'm mentally prepared for whatever you say on Weibo, but this is a private call. What's the matter? I'm doing my makeup here. There's still a night scene later. Jin Shirue said again. Chen Guang made up his mind. There were a lot of people on her side. She purposely acted like this for the people around her to see. There must be a way to communicate when dating. Then I'll say it directly. My head is about to explode because of people messing with me all day long. I plan to say something online. It's the same as admitting to this matter. It'll make others give up and leave. You don't have any connections on your side, right? I was planning to call you after I'm done with work tonight. I've already confessed to you so many times. Can't you give me a reply? My group of girlfriends are saying that I've confessed to you again and again, but I don't care about it. In fact, I also know that this matter will certainly cause you trouble, but I believe that you will certainly be able to get through it. Don't worry about bringing shame to me. Just act according to your own temperament. To put it bluntly, if it's really your scandal, others may not dare to report it for the sake of me and Solomon. Okay, my makeup is done. I've gone to the camera. Let's talk later. I really miss you. Jin Shirue was a gentle woman. She rarely said such words. But this time, no one knew what her motive was. She even said that the media didn't dare to report her scandal. After hanging up the phone, not only was Chen Guang in a daze, but several people who were eavesdropping on the phone were also shocked. This was not the same as the Jin Shirue they had always known, but the voice couldn't be fake. People all knew that Jin Shirue was gentle and considerate, but they didn't know that there was such a domineering side behind her. In fact, no one knew, and Jiang Yage didn't expect, that Jin Shirue's rare domineering was because she didn't want Chen Guang to take the initiative to clarify the relationship on Weibo because he was troubled. She just wanted Chen Guang to pinch his nose and acquiesce. Even if she could only be a lover on Weibo and on the phone with him, even if she could only hide behind Jiang Yage, not dare to approach him, and could only watch Jiang Yage seduce or flirt with him, Jin Shirue didn't want to lose this temporary and illusory happiness. Okay, buddy, let's shoot. If it's good, I'll forward it to you with the account of Almighty Superman. I'll make sure you become famous. Don't thank me. Call me Lei Feng. Chen Guang also steeled his heart. Soldiers come, generals will fight. Since Jin Shirue had already said this, he couldn't care less about what would happen in the future. But now, he had to take responsibility. When the guy heard that there was actually an Almighty Superman forwarding it, he also became excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Okay. By the way, does your phone have a beautifying function? Make me look more handsome. Brother, I've already stepped into the entertainment industry, so I have to pay attention to my image. I can't let my family Shirue lose face. Chen Guang said as he fiddled with the hair on his head. Hello everyone, my name is Chen Guang, I'm an Almighty Superman. I love life, and I love Jean Shirue, Ella. Ahem, wait a minute. In short, feelings are a matter between two people. It's actually quite personal. If I had a choice, I would also like to live my life with a lower profile. It's really troubling for me to become like this. So, let me give you a simple explanation. Whether it's Shiryue's fans or friends from the media, if you have anything you want to talk to me about, I'll be happy to do so. You can leave a message on my Weibo, or you can join my fan club. Oh, I haven't created a fan club yet. I'll announce it later. Everything can be discussed, but I hope that you won't come and disturb my private life. After all, things have already come to this. If you stop dating because of your fans' objections, then wouldn't all celebrities have to spend the rest of their lives alone? If you really like my family's Shiryue, then please calm down and think about it. Do you like Shiryue's songs, or Shiryue's movies or dramas? I firmly believe that it's not just her face that can make you like Shiryue. There are many beautiful people in the world, but why is there only one Shiryue? Everyone, please focus your attention on Shiryue's works again. There has never been an artist or a celebrity who can achieve results purely based on their looks. I was lucky enough to receive Shiryue's favor, but this has already caused her a lot of trouble. As her man, I really don't want to bring her even more trouble. Actually, I don't have a very good temper. I believe that many people have seen me fly into a rage on television. But I have no choice. As a man, I have to bear the consequences. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.